He is about to join his compatriots on the gold medal podium. He serves.
It's an ace! It's gold! Gold! You better believe it! Gold for Andy Murray! He's beaten Roger Federer. No! Correct now. He has thrashed Roger Federer in straight sets. And Federer may have won Wimbledon. The revenge here for Murray is sweet and golden.
London 2012 on 5 Live and 5 Live Olympics Extra.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
London 2012 with Mark Pougatch.
Can the world champion become the Olympic champion in the men's 400 hurdles?
Green wins for Britain. Di Green takes Britain's first gold of the championships. It's the night when all the lights have come on in the career of Di Green, world champion.
The pole vaulter Holly Bleasdale goes for gold against the legend that is Jelena Isinbayeva.
It's kind of daunting, and you know, when she says hi to me, it's because it's hard to shake when someone's been an idol, and you kind of get starstruck a bit. But it's really nice competing alongside her. It kind of means that I'm up there with her.
And boxing medals at stake for Joshua and Agogo at the Excel.
Anthony Agogo has won against Kitrov. The number one seed is out, and the middleweight from Lowestoft, Anthony Agogo, brings the crowd inside Excel to their feet. He's pulled off one of the big shocks of British boxing.
Well, a very good evening to you. Welcome to the second week of the athletics after an astonishing weekend here in the Olympic Stadium. But don't worry, we will do our absolute best to keep that pace and that drama and that excitement up. Olympic gold and silver medalist Darren Campbell's alongside me, and Olympic bronze medalist Catherine Merry as well, because there's lots to talk about. Actually, Darren, good evening to you. I'll tell you the first thing I want to say to you before we get on to Di Green. Usain Bolt, and we love that. He did say in his press conference, I'll be 30 in Rio. Why not? He did say that.
Did he?
He said that.
What, we may be blessed and get to see him again in Rio?
We might too.
So he can do it all over again for the third time. How magical would that be?
Oh, that would be something else as well. Well, even if we're not, we can still watch
That's
it.
True.
I know it's a long shot, but I thought it was interesting that he didn't say, no, I'm not going to be in Rio.
Well, why not? I just think, why not? You're a young man. Are you really serious about trying to play Premiership football, sign for Manchester United? I just think this is your arena, and this is where you love the most. So why leave?
Well, it was absolutely fantastic yesterday, and we hope for Di Green this evening. The 400 hurdles finals at 8:45, but it might be hoping against hope a little bit, judging on the semi-final, which was a bit of a shocker. Now, I am going to christen this the Ricky Villa syndrome. Now, let me just explain.
Please.
In the 1981 FA Cup final, Ricky Villa for Tottenham had a stinker, and he was substituted in the famous picture of him trudging off behind the goal. His dreams shattered. He'd always wanted to play in the cup final. It had gone horribly wrong. He'd been awful. He was taken off. Now, the match was drawn. In those days, they had replays. 4 days later, Ricky Villa scored one of the most famous FA Cup final goals of all time, and Tottenham won 3-2. He went round 3 Manchester City players and rolled it under Joe Corrigan. So you see, it can happen. It can turn around from a shocking day one day to glory the next. It takes a big man. It takes a lot of mental strength. What does he have to do?
Well, Di Green is team captain, so the important thing is that he lets go of what happened the other day. He can't think about it. It can't be in his mind. He has to view this as a new day. Forget the past. He's got a okay lane. He's in lane 3. It could have been a lot worse. Maybe an outside lane would have actually been better, so he could have run his own race. But the key thing is he's still in the raffle. So it's up to him now. He's got a great opportunity. He's just got to be focused and believe that he can do it.
Steve Backley's with us as well, former world record holder in the javelin. Steve, what do you think mentally he might have been struggling with, tussling with over the past few days?
Yeah, I think the challenge for Di, Mark, is that in that qualifying, that semi-final, I should say, he was in an outside lane, and you know, therefore he ran blind. and he came off the second turn as the stagger unwound. I think he got a bit of a fright with about 130 minutes to go, and I think he might just admit to himself that he panicked. Now, the significance of being in lane 3 for the final is that everyone's in front of him, and what he's got to do, there's no fright. And what we do know about Di Green is that he chases people down incredibly well, and of course that's the task before him. There's no fright, it's all out in front, and I think actually lane 3 really says something, feels really good about that.
We're going to talk much more about Di Green. Nothing's happening here other than the crowd are being whipped up with a big sign on the screen which says make some noise, which is what they're going to do again in the Velodrome, Simon Brotherton, for another gold medal ceremony for Great Britain.
Yes, Jason Kenny has walked out into the middle of the arena with Shane Perkins of Australia just in front of him and Gregory Bourget of France behind him. Perkins in the yellow and green tracksuit of Australia. Bourget all in white. Bourget very, very disappointed to finish with a silver medal for the second time here at the London Olympics, having been pipped by Kenny and his teammates in the team sprint as well. And another gold medal for Britain's cyclists, Sir Rob. It's been a good day at the office, hasn't it, with Victoria Pendleton safely through to the women's sprint semi-final. We've got the final and the semi-final and the finals of that coming up tomorrow. And also Laura Trott, I can tell you, is in the gold medal position at the halfway mark of the women's Omnium. She's got 12 points after 3 events. She's won 2 of today's 3 events. Sarah Hammer from the USA is also on 12 points in second place. And Annette Edmondson of Australia third on 17, as her compatriot Shane Perkins receives his bronze medal up on the podium. It goes around his neck, and a half-hearted wave to the crowd. But a word about Jason Kenny here, Rob, because it was a stunning performance in that final. And again, last week, going into the Olympic Games, he wasn't the favourite. We thought that, he was, if it went to form, it would be silver. He had a chance of gold, but, Bourget had everything to lose, and indeed that's how it's turned out.
Yeah, we definitely thought he would be in the mix for the medals, and it was the final that we were hoping for, the Bourget-Kenny final. But, yeah, after that qualification, with such a fantastic qualification by Kenny, fastest going into the competition, it did run to form, and he soon turned that being in the mix to the medal for being on the top of the podium.
And a new Olympic record in the qualifying ride, which sets the seeding. That really gets into everyone's heads before they've started. Now here's the moment he's been waiting for.
Olympic champion, representing Great Britain, Jason Kenny.
Well, I can tell you nobody's been leaving this velodrome early tonight. Everyone stayed behind for this celebration as Jason Kenny bends down and the gold medal is placed over his head. He shows it to the crowd. He receives the flowers as well, and congratulations from Pat McQuaid, the head of the UCI. Jason Kenny is the Olympic champion, one better than in Beijing 4 years ago when he lost to Chris Hoy in the final. And now, here's the national anthem.
Great Britain.
Jason Kenny, just 24 years of age. You have to think there's more to come from him. A low-profile figure, not a man really that you would recognise on the high street. But, Mark, he is a 3-time Olympic champion already.
Terrific performance from Jason Kenny. Simon, thank you very much indeed. Much more from Simon and Rob Hales to come from the Velodrome in the next few days. And we're going to speak to Beth Tweddle now, who won a bronze in the uneven bars in another great atmosphere at the North Greenwich Arena this afternoon. Beth, congratulations from all of us.
Thank you very much.
How do you reflect upon it now?
Oh, it's the best afternoon of my life. I mean, obviously everyone knows that's the one medal that's missing from my collection, and this was my last try at getting it. So to finally get that medal in my pocket is the best feeling in the world.
I mean, it was tense towards the end, wasn't it? It could have been better than bronze. It could have been worse than bronze.
Yeah, I mean, everyone keeps saying, "Are you not disappointed? You're a step away from gold." But I'm just so happy to have any medal in my pocket. At one point, I was thinking it's going to be down in fourth again, so I was pleased just to get that medal.
Was it that little step back which you think cost you more than bronze?
It could have done, but it really doesn't matter right now.
Well, that's a great attitude. It doesn't matter. The gymnasts have had a very good Olympics, haven't they?
It's been an amazing championships for us. I mean, we came in confident, but I don't think we were quite expecting the medal tally to be this high. But I mean, the boys obviously did fantastic to get their bronze in the team, and then Lewis and Max yesterday. I went down to watch them yesterday to get the atmosphere and to see what it was going to be like today, and everyone's just done everyone so proud.
Did the atmosphere surprise you?
Yeah, I mean, we knew that the atmosphere was going to be good, but as soon as I walked in today, the crowd just went mental, and even just getting up onto the podium before they'd even announced me to sort of chalk the bar up and stuff, it was just absolutely mental.
You have to deal with that the right way, don't you? Otherwise it could actually be off-putting, ironically enough, to have that much noise just preceding your event.
Yeah, it can be, but we've done really well in the fact that we had we had a World Championships in 2009 at the same arena. We had the European Championships, so British Gymnastics allowed us to get sort of home crowd, get used to it prior to these games, and I think that's really helped a lot of the team.
Lewis and Max were about 5 yards away from me with their medals last night. Beth, they got here to watch Usain Bolt.
I know, yeah, I heard they were here. That was amazing for them. We were all sat in the flat quite jealous that they were there watching the 100-metre final.
Beth, is that it for you now?
I haven't decided yet. I mean, I'm not going to stop training straight away. I'll definitely sort of take a bit of time now and then get back in the gym just training, but I haven't got any plans to compete at the minute. I just want to take a bit of time to decide.
And Beth, what was the most special moment today when you realised you'd got a medal, the ceremony, seeing friends and family afterwards? What's the most special bit of the day?
I haven't actually managed to see friends and family yet.
Wow.
I'm going over there in a bit, but that'll be special. But definitely as soon as I'd realised that I was in third and got a medal for definite.
Beth, thank you for talking to us. Congratulations.
Thanks very much.
Beth Tweddle, bronze in the uneven bars. Bye-bye, Beth. Let's go to Kevin House, who I think has had an unexpectedly exciting day.
Every day's exciting, Mark, but I know what you mean. England 114 for 4, and England are not going to chase this target. They were set now 253. The question is, how much longer will South Africa believe they possibly can take these 6 wickets they require? Trott is on 18, Bell on 1. The run chase really finished when Matt Pryor was run out. A mix-up with Jonathan Trott, although it would appear from body language that Trott called Pryor through for a second, and then Trott changed his mind, and Pryor was just out of his ground with a throw coming in from Smith. He was run out for 7. This declaration from South Africa's was quite bold, I think, from Graham Smith earlier today. There were still 9 wickets down, some excellent bowling from Stuart Broad. Kevin Peterson picked up another 3 wickets as well, but that declaration 258 for 9. What we could get now is a situation where the players will shake hands and agree on a draw, because we're into the last hour, but it doesn't look as if that's going to happen. So the game continues with South Africa still believing they can take a further 6 wickets. England 114 for 4, still 139 off that target, but really it's all about South Africa and taking these wickets.
Kevin will keep us up to date. If you want commentary, it is on 5 Live Sports Extra. Let's talk about Great Britain's women's hockey players who play their final match this evening against the Netherlands in the pool stages. Alistair Eakins at the Riverbank Arena. And Alistair, Great Britain's women are through to the semi-finals already, so just a little bit of the pressure taken off tonight.
Yeah, a lot of the pressure, in all honesty, Mark, has been taken off. The unlikely win earlier on today for Japan over China by a 1-0 have given Great Britain their place in the semis, regardless of tonight's result against the Netherlands, who are the defending Olympic champions. It ruled out any hopes that the Chinese had. They, if you remember, had beaten Britain in the last game. So tonight's match between GB and the Netherlands will decide the Pool A winner, and that's significant regarding who they'll play in the semi-final on Wednesday. 3 teams in the mix in Pool B. New Zealand already through in second place. One of Argentina and Australia will top that pool, and they will play tonight. And of course the semis made up of the teams finishing in the top in each pool. First will play second. First from Pool A will play second in Pool B, and the reverse is also the case. But Sean Curley, the British women will be delighted about what the Japanese did earlier on today, because their fixture was shaping up as a nasty one this evening.
Yeah, it was a possible win scenario, but that didn't happen. And I can imagine at the end of that Japanese game, there were 18 British hockey players, female, jumping up and down in that village for joy, but obviously they had to get their heads down and their minds in tune for this game, because this game is very important. They need to win, firstly to put the Dutch in their place in their eyes, but secondly to try and play the weaker of the two semi-finals.
We're told, Mark, that the British women did not watch the match between China and Japan because it would be too draining. But regardless of that, there will have been some celebrations when the result came through.
Well, the Great Britain captain Kate Walsh managed to play a
Yeah, I thought straight away that
match, despite having a hockey stick smacked into her face earlier last week and a subsequent operation. Even she was surprised to be able to come back to play a part in the Olympics after that.
Yes, she was very surprised, and I think
it was a very stressful night waiting for the operation.
Right, sorry about that. We've got a little bit of a technical mix-up there. Sean, for her to be able to play, then we weren't too sure about it. Sometimes you say that you need a decision to be taken out of your hands and for medical people to make it for you. But how did she look when she played?
Well, very white at the end of the game, particularly in the press conference. And the first tackle, everybody was wincing rather, but she got through it. But she did look a little tentative to me. I think there was a lot of energy expended by the whole team about should she play, shouldn't she play, and the subsequent performance against China, well, it was a difficult one, and I think they all felt relieved that she'd got through it, and Japan, well, they did a great favour to the British team and did their job for them.
Thank you very much, gents. It's live on Olympics Extra. GB's women against the Netherlands. So we've talked about Di Green here this evening. Holly Bleasdale goes in the pole vault as well. And now Yelena Isinbayeva, who has set 28 pole vault world records, is going for a third Olympic title in a row. Bleasdale's a former gymnast, and if she can make the podium, she could be stood alongside one of her heroes.
At the minute, she's phenomenal. She's got so much experience on top of what I have. It's hard to compete against that, really.
You weren't even doing the pole vault 4 years ago when the Beijing Olympics came around. Do you remember the first time she was in the same field as you?
Yeah, I do. The first time I competed against her was actually this year, because I competed against her in Daegu, but she was in a different pool to me, and it was like I was so nervous because she's the one that I've always, like, when I was a youngster jumping like 3 meters up to 4 meters, she was the one that I idolised and wanted to be like, and her technique was the best because she's jumping the world records, and it was really weird to be alongside her, and it kind of still is now. It's kind of daunting, and you know, when she says hi to me, it's because it's hard to shake when someone's been an idol, and you kind of get starstruck a bit, but it's really nice competing alongside her. It kind of means that I'm up there with her.
You'd be too old to have posters on your walls, but was it that sort of thing that you might have done?
Like, people, when they look at like David Beckham, they idolise him, and obviously she's the best female pole vault along with Bubka, and I got in a lift with Bubka once and I was really starstruck. I don't think he knew who I was at the time, but my jaw dropped kind of, and it was like a celebrity in my eyes, obviously, because he's the best male pole vaulter ever.
You said you were really nervous when you first competed against her. Do you talk to her? Did you talk to her that day?
No, I mean, when I first competed against her, I don't really think she knew who I was, so I obviously knew who she was, and she'd smile at me and just be polite. But now, kind of, because she knows who I am, we say morning and we say hi and stuff, but in the competition we're obviously both focusing on what we want to do, and obviously I respect that, so it's nice that she says hi and good morning and stuff like that, so obviously she knows who I am.
It's Holly Bleasdale with Sonia McLaughlin. Steve Backley, what kind of form has Bleasdale been in coming into these Olympics?
She's had a fairly close, sort of quiet, I should say, season to now. She jumped 4 meters 71 in the trials. Great indoors, fantastic indoors, 4 meters 87. I mean, she's certainly talented enough to take a medal if she's not starstruck by Yelena Isinbayeva listening to that. She's one of the great stories of the British team, actually. 4 years ago in Beijing, she didn't know what pole vault was. You know, 2 months after those games, she went to a come and try day and thought, this is cool, like this, yeah, let's go with this. Here we are 4 years later, and she's jumping for a medal. that, you know, one of the strap lines of the 2012 London Games is inspire a generation. She's an inspiration of the legacy of the Beijing Olympics, and goodness, who knows, if she can pull it off tonight, she'll certainly inspire many to take up the event.
And I know there's one of those come and give it a go days in a couple of weeks' time, actually, after the Olympics as well. So with luck, we'll be talking about somebody else in 4 years' time in Rio who has done just that. So a third Olympic gold medal Isinbayeva is going for. She's extremely famous, Steve, but she's not necessarily popular with everybody.
Well, you might have to elaborate on that. I don't know. She's been an unbelievable champion. I mean, double Olympic champion. She's been fairly or let's say she's been in erratic form. She had 3 no heights in her most recent competition. She's a bit of a, you know, she's a superstar of the sport, you might say. So she comes with a, you know, a certain expectation. Maybe we could paint that picture. But you know, she's under a bit of pressure tonight. She comes in as favourite. But one aspect of it that, as we look above, we've seen some pretty dark, heavy clouds hanging over here at the Olympic Stadium. She doesn't like jumping in the rain. And Holly Bleasdale from Preston, at 20 years of age, I don't know, she's probably doing a little rain dance down there to hopefully, get her on her way.
Kath, great noise, isn't there, again this evening? That's Holly Bleasdale's name being flashed up on the screen. What do you think she's going to have to jump this evening to give herself some sort of a chance?
An outdoor best this year of 4 metres and 71. She might have to go above and beyond that to get into the medals, and she's capable of it from being one of the top ranked ever indoors now with that 4 metres and 87. And as Steve said, weather's going to play a part. They're going to be out there for nearly a couple of hours until this competition gets going. But Isinbayeva isn't the dominant force she used to be, because she has been erratic since she took that year break off. But because of how famous she is, because of how she pushed this women's pole vault sport to another level, you know she's capable.
Let me just ask you, I know we talked about Di Green, but I do want to ask you that, because Di Green, along with Holly Bleasdale, 2 of our big focuses this evening. What do you think Di Green would have been doing with Malcolm Arnold the last couple of days?
Hopefully just relaxing, hopefully just sitting back. They'd have talked through the race when it happened. They'd have talked about it, you know, what he needed to work on. And I don't think he did particularly anything wrong. He just needs to go back to basics. He's had the day rest. He has to treat this as a one-off race. And in a one-off race, he has the ability to win this final. He has the ability to get a medal. And he has a very good lane draw. He's a very lucky man.
Let's go back to the velodrome. Another gold medal there. Here's Matt Dawson.
Thanks, Mark. Yeah, not just the 1 gold medal for Jason Kenny, 3-time Olympian. Jason, you usually do your talking on the track, but you've got to somehow describe what is going through your mind at the moment.
I don't know, really. I'm just kind of getting carried along in the moment, to be honest with you. It was really special. It was really amazing to be on the podium there. You know, I really enjoyed that, and like, I really enjoyed the few laps after the win. After the team sprint, I felt a bit sick and didn't really enjoy it that much, but yeah, that one I felt like I could really soak it up and enjoy the crowd here, which were amazing as always.
And as well as the crowd, it looked a little bit more personal. The battle against Gregor Bourget, the fact that he took the world champs away from him, was it a little bit more personal?
Well, we've raced each other now in 2 World Championships finals the last 2 years, and they're always really close, and they're always kind of humdingers, and he's had the legs in the last kind of time we met, so it was nice to kind of have the tables turn a little bit and kind of have the edge and the speed, and just be a case of going out and ticking the boxes rather than going out kind of looking to do something a bit special to turn over a faster person. So yeah, I enjoyed that. I always like racing against boys as well. I would like racing against all the French guys, to be honest, because it's always, you know, really fast, really kind of for high quality racing, and that's what I enjoy doing, you know.
And there was enormous pressure. I'm sure you couldn't get away from the fact that the public were expecting Sir Chris Hoy to be having this race, but Jason Kenny got it. But you've been the fastest by a mile.
Yeah, that didn't even cross my mind until just before the very last race, when it kind of dawned on me that, you know, if we swap places now, there's no way that Chris would ever kind of let this ride go. And so I was like, I better get up there and just, you know, make sure I empty the tanks and do everything right at least, and then, you know, hopefully that'll be enough to win. And it was, and so I'm really pleased.
He's been tweeting already that he's very proud of you. He's a roommate, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. We're in a flat in the village along with Phil Hines as well. So yeah, we've got a nice little family going on there.
Any chance of an evening out?
Oh, I'm sure I'll pop out for a few quiet ones tonight, maybe. We'll just have to see what happens.
Jason, thanks for many congratulations. Mark, Jason was just scratching his head as in embarrassment there, as to think it might be just a few more than just a couple of beers. Also, Mark, how about going back to that Olympics in Beijing? I seem to remember seeing Sir Chris Hoy standing next to Jason Kenny saying, next time in London it's this lad. Jason Kenny is the lad for the sprint. I mean, maybe that comes with the knighthood. You get some kind of crystal ball.
Yeah, you get some wisdom, don't you, which you can dispense to great effect. Well, it certainly worked. Thank you very much, Matt. We're going to go to Wembley. John Murray has watched France-Japan women's semi-final.
And I can tell you that the world champions Japan are through to the gold medal match of the women's football. They've beaten France 2-1. Japan scored in the first half through Ogimi. Then Sakaguchi made it 2-0 early in the second. France kept plugging away though. Substitute Le Sommer scored a good goal, but the key moment, with 10 minutes to go, Busaglia missed a penalty which would have made it 2-2, and despite a frantic finale, Japan held out to win 2-1 in front of a Wembley crowd, Mark, of almost 61,500. So Japan will play either Canada or the defending champions, the USA, for the gold medal here at Wembley on Thursday.
That's a 7:45 game at Old Trafford this evening. Ian Dennis will keep you in touch with that. It's BBC Radio 5 live at the Olympics with Mark Pugac in the Olympic Stadium at 7:04.
This is the Olympic Station.
An Olympic dream is realised.
London 2012
on 5 Live.
And King Kenny rules in the velodrome.
Round the banking, in towards the finishing straight. It's going to be Kenny's all the way. Jason Kenny is the Olympic champion. A superb ride. There was no stopping him this time. Kenny, yes he can.
Earlier, Britain's show jumpers took the team gold at Greenwich Park. It's 18 golds now so far for Team GB. Beth Tweddle won her first Olympic medal of bronze in the uneven bars. There'll be at least one more medal in the boxing after Nicola Adams reached the semi-finals. And coming up in the next few minutes, Holly Bleasdale begins her quest for gold in the women's pole vault. And later it's Di Green in the final of the 400 hurdles. And over on Olympics Extra, women's hockey commentary, Great Britain-Holland, just underway.
Remember, you can catch every Olympic moment right here on 5 Live and also over on our new digital radio station, 5 Live Olympics Extra. And if you miss it, catch up later on the BBC Sport website. This is the Olympic Station.
BBC Radio 5 Live.
I'm Faye Rusco with the BBC 5 Live News. Team GB has taken its 18th gold medal. Jason Kenny won the men's sprint at the velodrome. Earlier, Britain's show jumping team took their first gold for 60 years. Much more coming up here on 5 Live. Nick Clegg says the Conservatives have broken the coalition agreement. Dozens of Tory backbenchers rebelled against Lib Dem plans to reform the House of Lords. The bill has now been dropped. The United States says President Assad is losing his grip on power, and the defection of the country's prime minister is proof that his regime is crumbling. Riyad Hijab is believed to have fled to Jordan with his family. A 34-year-old man accused of throwing a bottle on the Olympic track before yesterday's 100-metre final will stand trial next month. Ashley Gill-Webb, who's from Leeds, pleaded not guilty to a public order offence at Stratford Magistrates Court this afternoon. And Gary Barlow has announced that he and his wife Dawn have lost their fourth child. Poppy Barlow was delivered stillborn on Saturday. The Take That singer says his focus now is giving her a beautiful funeral.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
London 2012 with Mark Pugac.
So let's go back to Kevin Howes. Any drama left in this test match?
From England's point of view, I hope not. 118 for 4, so still Trott and Bell trying to see out what could be 12 overs, minimum 12 overs left in this last hour of this match. So it looks like England and South Africa will go off to Lords with South Africa still 1 up with that 1 to play. This partnership, of course, needs to just see things out through to the end. A partnership of 12 runs following that dismissal of Matt Pryor, ran out for 7 when England was still having a go for it. So 135 off that nominal target now, 118 for 4.
Thank you very much, Kevin. There's commentary on 5 Live Sports Extra. Let's have a word with Keon Rayner from TV Jamaica, because once again, the Jamaicans dominating in the sprints, men's and women's, of course. Keon, thank you very much indeed. We'll talk about the women's, the 200 metres heats we're going to see in a few moments' time. But let's start with this chap, Bolt. He did it, didn't he? He did it, and he did it pretty comfortably in the end.
Without question. And coming into the Olympics,
everyone was wondering, because at the Jamaican trials, his execution was nowhere close to what we're used to. Say, for instance, in Beijing and Berlin, and even in the heats and the semi-finals in Daegu before he picked in the final, his first 3 strides were off. And I mentioned that, I think, yesterday before the final here on 5 Live on the morning program. I was saying, once I see that he gets those first 3 strides correct, and you're the sprinter, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, Darren Campbell, yeah.
Defner always said he's got to get his rhythm, and the first couple of strides are so important to him. Otherwise, like you say, he's off.
At the trials, that was missing. He just popped up and ran. Yeah. So when I saw the heats, yeah, and then I was watching the warm-up before the semi-finals, and I'm seeing that, hey, it is back. Then I said, okay, once he gets that and is with them up to 30, he will win. But if he did not nail that, then I thought that Blake would have won, and it came.
Was it true that they weren't training together during this whole season?
No, man, they were training together.
Right.
And watching, if you watched even in the warm-up track, every single time they were around there walking together, talking together, doing everything together. So I think that we're trying to stir something up.
Right.
You know, you're talking about, in Jamaica they have a say, 2 dogs or 2 bulls can't rule in one pen.
Mm-hmm.
And that
I'm going to write that down.
yeah, two bulls can't rule in one pen, and I think that's the case, because here it is, the world record holder, the Olympic champion, was beaten at the Jamaican trials by the world champion, and they're training on the same track every single day. Coach Mills previously said to me in interviews that while both sprinters have different needs, so they'll do different things at training, but at the end of the day, when it comes to tightening up and sorting out the technical aspects, they will train together. The BBC did an interview this year, I think Leon Mann.
Yes, he did, yes.
And you saw some footage in there of both men in starts leading up to Daegu. So you know that they work together for technical stuff. So it wasn't a case that they weren't working together.
Keon, is that good for Johan Blake?
I think so, because I think that he's probably benefited more from trading with Bolt. Bolt said last night in the mix zone that Blake woke him up at trials, knocked on my door and said, hey, this is the Olympic year. So probably if Blake didn't give him that nudge at the Jamaican trials at the end of June, then he may have come here a little ill-prepared.
Yeah. Because that's probably helped in Blake's development, the fact that he's been around Usain Bolt, and that's why stepping into the Olympic final, he didn't crumble, because Justin Gatlin probably got off to the best start and really put the 2 guys under pressure. But my feeling was always that they would overhaul him around the 40-metre mark and he would start to go tight.
Not only Usain, but do not estimate the work that Glenn Mills has done. Glenn Mills worked, from my research, with Don Quarry. He worked with Raymond Stewart. Yes, you know that Quarry, Olympic silver, Olympic gold in 200 meters. Raymond Stewart, a couple of Olympic finals and World Championship finals. So
some serious pedigree. Yeah.
And this is the man that Coach Kim Collins to the 2003 gold.
Yeah, don't remind me.
Right. Right. Apologies.
It was going really well, this interview, wasn't it? We were all getting on very well.
Right. So the work that Coach Glenn Mills is doing is no mean feat, eh?
Absolutely. I'm really interested. I think everyone's interested in this dynamic. Is there a feeling that Blake has to wait for Bolt either to be disqualified, as in Daegu, or to retire before he beats him in a World or Olympic final?
I don't think so. I think Bolt knows if I do not come with my A game, then this man I train it every day can beat me. And both have acknowledged that in training there are times when Blake is taking it to Bolt. Now, that to me is, I must bring my A game every single time we race together. The experience that Bolt has garnered since 2002 when he won that World Junior title in Kingston at age 15, I think has put him in better stead to manage pressure situations. If you realize here in London, before last night's final, Blake did no interviews in the mix zone, designed by Coach Mills to keep the pressure up. And I think but Bolt is more seasoned, so he knows, I can stop and talk. What I can say, it won't come back to bite, to haunt me. So I think that was the case. But Coach Mills knows how to get them ready mentally.
Physics say that if Bolt is on his A game, realistically, none of them guys can beat him.
I want to agree with you. And when Bolt said that I'm 95%,
that's enough.
That is where
it gives people hope.
Yeah, that maybe I can beat you. And contextually though, the fact that he was not executing the first 30, even for the 200 meters, before trials in Jamaica, he said he was not doing much work on the corner. That indicated to me that, hey, something must have been wrong. But I'm in two minds for the 200 meters. I was just sharing with the producer. In 2008 Beijing, I'm borrowing a notebook here.
Right, we're getting a few stats here, everybody, so stand by your beds.
I'm ready.
In 2008 Beijing, Bolt ran 9.69. We got a world record 9.30. When he ran 9.58, he gave us 19.19. Conjecture now. He ran 9.63. That does say to me that he's at least in 9.3, 9.2 something form. Now, Blake showed us last year 1926 without executing a good corner. I think the tighter corner will benefit Blake rather than Bolt. I'm sure he's improved his corner running coming here. We saw that in Kingston. Now, Bolt prefers the outside lanes. He said that over and over again.
Definitely.
So he'll prefer 6 to 8. Yes? Rather 7 to 9 here because they're running from 2 to lane 9. So, and then this is the other thing. Blake trains, Donovan Bailey said in an interview to me 2 days ago that Blake is the hardest working man in track and field, in sprinting in particular. Now, Bolt has not been working out full time given the problems he's had. So will the rounds have an effect on Bolt in the 200 meters final? That's the question.
I would say because it's 3 rounds, rather than 4 rounds, it does play slightly into Usain Bolt's hands. Only in the respect that in the first round, we all know he can run 20.5. That's jogging. Yeah, that's like most other man running 21 seconds. So this is where there's only a few people that can really go up with those guys. And it's interesting as well that Christophe Lemaitre, who ran fantastically well in Crystal Palace, hasn't run the 100 here to save himself for the 200.
Yeah.
So it's not over.
I'm going to ask you 2 more because we've got things to do. We really appreciate your time. One more on Bolt. When I said to the chaps last night, he'll only be 30 in Rio, mighty run there, there was a general no, there was a polite no, but in the press conference he said, I'll only be 30. Do you think it's conceivable that he'll run in Rio?
I don't think that's in question. He will run in Rio. I don't doubt that. What will he run though is the question. Coach Mills has not said specifically, nor has Bolt, and the question was posed to him at the GOA press conference before, what's happening, are you going to take on the 400? That's a question that comes up every year. And he said specifically, Coach has said, I shall not answer that question any at all. Now, is it a case that, okay, let us plan for the next 4 years? I remember after Beijing, I spoke with Coach Mills in Kingston. I said, what will happen? He says, Reina, we have a 4-year plan. And that was coming here. Right? He said
so you think there's another 4-year plan very much in order?
Knowing Coach Glenn Mills.
So you're leaving us with more questions than answers, really?
No, I just let you in.
Yeah. And my final question is, everyone wants to know why the Jamaicans so good. We've got 200 metres for women coming up. It's Jamaica everywhere you look. Are these things, I suppose in a way they are cyclical, because when I was growing up, the West Indies were brilliant. Actually, can you just stay there 1 second? We've got Holly Bleasdale. You're right for a couple of minutes.
Yes.
Holly Bleasdale going in the pole vault, Steve.
And that big cheer was Holly Bleasdale being welcomed here in the Olympic Stadium as she looks down for her first attempt. The bar's at 4 metres and 45 centimetres. We've had only one athlete of the 6 jumpers so far to clear on their first attempt. And judging by the very noisy crowd, I won't have to tell you whether she's knocked the bar off or not. You'll hear from the reaction of this 80,000 strong crowd. So Holly Bleasdale removes the Union Jack from around her legs. It's kept her warm for the last few minutes. And she looks down the track. She's down the end of the track, just to the left of the 100-metre sprinters. As we saw last night, she's in that little fan at the end of this Olympic Stadium, some 30 metres or so back from the bar. And this to open her campaign. Some athletes have been struggling, lots of failures. As I say, only one athlete has gone clear on their first attempt. And Great Britain's Holly Bleasdale tries to do exactly that. 4 metres and 45 centimetres. Here she goes. Can she go clear? That'll tell you it's a no. The big sigh there, 4 metres and 45, across goes up, and again she joins the majority of this field. In fact, nobody clear yet at this height of 4 metres and 45, and 2 more jumps remaining.
Thank you very much. Joining me in a second. Kay, on final one to you. To a certain extent, everything in sport is cyclical. When I was a kid, the West Indies ruled the world in cricket. You know, things do come around. How long will this era last?
I think the infrastructure is in Jamaica for it to continue for another century. We have what we call champs in Kingston. That's boys and girls champs that give birth to persons like VCB, Bolt, Melian Walker. Yeah? You're talking about GC Foster College for sports. That's where the coaches are trained, certified. Then there's that little thing called socialization. Since 1948, Jamaica has been having success at the Olympics. 54 medals before London. And you find people coming through and through and through. So I don't think it's going to stop for now.
Kayon, thank you very much indeed. And thank you, heard it here first. He will be Usain Bolt in Rio.
First heat in the women's 200 metres over on the far side of the track. The starting blocks adjacent to the pole vault cushion. And the British champion Margaret Adeoye is drawn in lane number 7 here. The full complement of 9 lanes being used across the first round. Marlena Welsh of Haiti in lane 6 isn't running, and Margaret Adeoye of Britain gets a fairly good start on her outside. Federiva, one of the favourites in this heat for Russia, is running strongly, and towards the inside Muriel Ahure of Ivory Coast, who's been running so strongly over 100 metres so far this season, has the lead from Federiva in second place. It's going to be close for third between Adeoye and on the outside Alison Peter of the US Virgin Islands, but she does get through. Margaret Adeoye finishes in third place. 22.55 seconds is the winning time for Muriel Ahure of Ivory Coast. Federiva of Russia second. Adeoye, Darren Campbell was third.
Easy, very easy run for Ahure in lane 3. Easy, comfortable, ran a fantastic bend, come into the straight, relaxed, but then the Russian athlete pulled on his shoulder, but they qualified comfortably in a time of 22.55 seconds. And I think the British athlete Adeoye also was qualified 22.94 seconds, personal best.
Kathy, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, firstly, Margaret will be happy. That's what she had to run to get through these women's 200 heats because they're hot. Her coach, Linford Christie, will be happy. He told her before the race, just go out, enjoy, relax. This is a big-time occasion. Go and show them what you can do. And she'll be happy with that. But this is a very open women's 200 metres. But potentially the American Allyson Felix is about 0.4 of a second ahead of everybody in the rest of the world at the moment, and she'll be looking for that elusive gold, having got 2 silvers in this women's 200 metres in the Olympics before. But so far, so good in the first heat.
Let's go to Leeds, the test match. Kevin Howells.
There were 19 overs left of the game when Matt Pryor was run out. 4th wicket down for England in this run chase for 7. Don't forget that England had given it a go. Kevin Peterson, promoted as opener, out for 12. Strauss made 22 and Cook also out for 46. But Trott and Bell it was, those 19 overs remaining, had the job of seeing it through for a draw. They're still there at the moment, and still we play on with Trott on 19, Bell on 3. As I say, forget the target now. This is all about, can South Africa get the 6 wickets remaining and also lay a marker, even if they can't get those 6 wickets, put a bit of pressure on England ahead of that test at Lord's coming up in around about 10 days or so. But England look as if they're going to do enough for the draw at least. 119 for 4, still 134 off that target.
And Alistair Eakins at the hockey. It's 0-0 here with 12 minutes left to play in the opening half. Great Britain up against the Olympic champions, the Netherlands. The Dutch have had the only opportunity from the set piece, from the penalty corner. Van Marsacker unable to control it on the back of the D, and good defence from GB keeping them out. Kate Walsh is looking pretty solid at the back, looking quite a lot more contented and secure than she did the other night, so soon after coming back from that horrible incident with the Japanese stick. So 0-0, no real shots on goal from Great Britain as yet. 11 minutes to play in this opening half.
And that continues on Olympics Extra. Well, a lot of people with a lot to say after Keon Rayner from TV Jamaica had some interesting thoughts on Usain Bolt, the future, the 200. Steve Backley.
I love that extrapolation of times, trying to speculate what will happen in the 200 metres. And Johan Blake, that blistering time he ran the 200 at the end of last year in Brussels. I think the point is, though, 9.63 in what would it have been last night? 16, 17 degrees? If it was 5 or 6 degrees, 8 degrees warmer, which it would have been when he ran in Berlin, it was a warm night, right? Beijing was a warm night. That was a world record run for me. I don't know. Maybe Darren, is that?
No, I
be the
totally
case?
agree with you. When people were talking to me about world records and was that good a performance here at 10 to 10? That was a fantastic
put it in perspective, right? The distance between him and the world record was about the length from your elbow to your fingers, right? Behind the world record. It's nothing. It's almost like a dip finish. Half a metre. Put that 5 degrees on that, that's probably there, right?
I really want to take him forward with Bolt as well, because of what he said about what he might run in Rio. Steve, just before that, the first jump for Holly Bleasdale there.
Yeah, do you know what? I don't know what's going on down here in the women's pole vault. We've had consecutive failures now for the last... And another one has been knocked off. 1, 2, 3... There's maybe the last 9 jumps in their opening height of 4 metres and 45. Could it be the run-up again that we talked about?
Could it be the wind
track
as well? Because it is an open track because of the bowl.
I can't see any wind getting in, Darren. I'll take your point. It's maybe a little bit breeze outside. There's 2 flags at the end of the stadium here.
Yeah, because if you look at that Union Jack opposite us, it's facing the pole vault mat.
There's a little bit, but I think it may just be a little bit of nerves. 80,000 people, the situation that just... It's bizarre, but the big guns, Yelena Isinbayeva, Jenny Suhr of the United States, these are the favourites for the event, haven't even come in yet. So, but they'll be panicking a bit because they'll see the other athletes struggling, thinking, what's going on? Why are they struggling? I need to work it out so I can cope with it.
Would that make them come in earlier?
Well, they can't change that. You set your tight and you come in.
Let's go to Sonia McLaughlin. Sonia.
Well, there's somebody here who might give us an idea of what the conditions are like around that top bend, because, Margaret, you've just run in the 200-metre heats, safely through with a personal best. What was it like out there in that corner?
It was crazy. The crowds down there, they were just too much. As soon as I stepped out, everyone was like, go on, Margaret. I was thinking, they even know my name, kind of thing. And I just thought, do you know what, I have to execute. I have to, at least do the country proud. And that's what I just did. I just thought, focus, execute, because I know that they'll help me through the bend. And I just heard everyone just going, come on, so I knew I was in a good position, and I just had to keep it.
The pole vaulters are really struggling to get over the bar at the opening height of 4:45, including Holly Bleasdale, who had a first failure there. Is it windy down there at all?
I don't know. It probably is, but when I'm in the zone, I just can't feel anything. I'm kind of numb.
Well, you did it well because you ran a personal best. Well done to you. Mark, as I was walking across the park just now, there are some wind turbines out there and they were going in a rapid style. It's very windy outside, not quite as windy in here, but it might be a factor.
Yes, they are lined up, aren't they, between us and the aquatics centre. So that does give us a good sort of indication of what the wind is like outside. British interest again in the second of these heats of the women's 200, Mike.
Yes, and this features in lane number 3. She's just been introduced to the crowd before Annika Onura of Great Britain. Alison Felix, one of the greatest 200-metre runners of all time. 4th fastest time in history she posted earlier this year, 21.69 seconds. She's drawn here in lane 3. 3 times the world champion in 2005, 2007 and again in 2009. And she was runner-up, taking silver at the last 2 Olympic Games behind the Jamaican Veronica Campbell-Brown, who goes in one of the later heats. Annika Onura is in lane number 4, second in the UK trials over both 100 and this 200-metre distance. Second over 200 behind Margaret Adeoye, who we've just been hearing from. Lifetime best for Adeoye, 22.94 seconds. Annika Onura has a lifetime best of 100th of a second quicker. Yelis Savlinis of Russia in lane 6 is also a threat here, as is Samoy Hackett of Trinidad and Tobago on the outside in lane 9. Once again, only the first 3 will go forward to the semi-finals. And they're underway then over on the far side of the track, and Hackett on the outside gets a very strong start, and so too does the Russian Savlinis. And those two have the advantage as they head in towards the home straight, but they're being taken on now by Alison Felix with this wonderfully elegant stride. Eases her way into the lead and is coasting up to the line from Hackett in second place. Coming through into third is Janelle Redhead of Grenada, and so Annika Onura will have to wait to see if she qualifies as a fastest loser. 22.71 seconds from Alison Felix and Darren Campbell. What a display of sprinting.
Very, very impressive. She ran very, very well in the 100 metres. She'll be bitterly disappointed not to get a medal, but she used that 100 metre speed to go past Annika Onura. After the first 50 metres, she came into the straight, nice and relaxed, looked around, saw Hackett in lane 9, stayed comfortable, qualified very, very easily in a time of 22.71. Hackett 22.81 and Redhead 23.08. Season's best.
Well, there are 6 places for fastest losers, and Annika Onura was 4th in 23.23 seconds. I think she'll be slightly disappointed with the time, but at this stage she does have a chance of getting through to the semi-finals tomorrow evening as a fastest loser.
I suddenly thought you were describing somebody's haircut.
Well, I looked up at the screen and saw Redhead. I went, yeah, it does say Redhead.
Yeah, it does.
I had to double check myself.
It's 7:30, lots more to come from here. Di Green as well in the 400 hurdles final, and Chris Akabusi is with us. It's 7:30. Here's Faye Rusco with the news.
Online at bbc.co.uk/5live.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
2 more golds have been added to Team GB's medal list today. Jason Kenny won the men's sprint at the Velodrome. Great Britain also took gold in the team show jumping event at Greenwich. And Beth Tweddle claimed her first Olympic medal with a bronze in the uneven bars. Nick Clegg accused the Conservatives of breaking the coalition contract with the Liberal Democrats. He said the government was abandoning its plans to reform the House of Lords and said the Lib Dems would now block Tory plans to redraw the parliamentary boundaries. The Syrian Prime Minister has defected from President Assad's regime and reportedly fled to Jordan with his family. It's the highest profile defection since the uprising began in Syria 18 months ago. America says it's proof the regime is crumbling. A second person's died in an outbreak of Legionnaire's disease in Stoke-on-Trent. The man was in his 70s. 2 others are still in hospital. Their conditions are described as stable. And Gary Barlow and his wife Dawn say they're devastated after losing their baby. Poppy Barlow was delivered stillborn on Saturday. A quick look at the roads in Lancashire. One lane of the M61 southbound is blocked because of a broken down car between junction 9 at Clayton Brook and junction 8 at Chorley. Traffic is slow and the matrix sign is set to 50 miles an hour. A lane's blocked on the M602 eastbound in Greater Manchester between junction 2 at Gilderbrook Road and junction 3 at Regent Road. Traffic slow there. At Doxford Park in Tyne Wear, the A19 southbound is shut after Durham Road and the Harrington interchange. A car's overturned there and traffic is queuing. In Withensea in Yorkshire, Queen Street is closed between Seaside Road and Halpton Road. A gas leak has closed a large section of the road there. Traffic is slow. It's not expected to reopen until at least 10 o'clock. In Colsterworth in Lincolnshire, the A1 northbound is closed. Traffic queuing between the Colsterworth Services Junction and the Melton Mowbray turn-off. Traffic very slow. A diversion's being set up as we speak. Twickenham Road eastbound in London shut after an accident between St Margaret's Road and Kew Kew Road. Traffic very slow approaching St Margaret's roundabout in both directions. And in Blueberry in Oxfordshire, London Road is completely closed for recovery work after an accident at Westbrook Street. Expect delays there. A diversion is in place, but the road is expected to reopen shortly. Faye Rusco, 5 Live Travel.
5 Live.
Every story.
We've gone past Darwin now and we're quite close to Goose Green, but this is a moment for you of huge emotional impact, isn't it?
2 enemy Argentinian positions opened up on us. As the gunners caught up to me, I went to get up and I got shot.
Every moment.
Well, this is more Harry news from Mike. There's a hand gone up across the studio. We can report that Harry Redknapp is no longer the Tottenham manager. It has just been confirmed.
Every event.
They crossed the line first. It's the first ever Olympic goal for women in breech rowing. Stanley and Glover have made history.
And still to come, the London Paralympic Games. Plus, the Premier League returns on August 18th. Don't miss a thing.
BBC Radio 5 Live.
And a goal at the women's hockey, Alistair Eakin.
GB leading the Netherlands by 1-0. It's come from the penalty corner routine, Mark, which has been so successful for Great Britain's women through the course of this campaign. They've now converted 7 of their 16 opportunities. Krista Cullen with the drag flick, low down to the keeper's right. She was well beaten. GB 1, Netherlands 0. 2 minutes to go in this opening half.
All over at the cricket in Leeds, Kevin Howells.
Match drawn, off to Lords with South Africa still a 1-up with that 1 test to go. After the Olympics are finished in around 10 days' time or so there at Lords. England 130 for 4 in the end. Ian Bell 3 not out of 34 deliveries. Trotz 30 of 57, making certain of the draw. As I say, South Africa remain 1-up.
Third heat of the 200 to come. Holly Bleasdale, the noise rises, Steve Backley.
And 2 athletes have gone clear at these early highs, 4 metres and 45. This is Holly Bleasdale's second attempt as she takes down the runway. Big cheer from the crowd. And just rattles that bar. Didn't look very close to that at all, I have to say. And that's 2 failures for the Brit. It's 1 more strike and she's out at her opening height.
That didn't look utterly convincing, did it, Steve?
No, it didn't. And trying to work out what's going on down there. Many failures. No one cleared this height on their first attempt. 2 athletes have cleared it on their second attempt. But clearly lots of athletes struggling, and Holly Bleasdale has put herself under a lot of pressure there with only 1 jump remaining.
It does look like the runway, doesn't it? Because the first time round she was close to this side of the bar, i.e. where she planted it, and then the second time she was further away and she caught it on the way back down.
And then the other piece of evidence for that bar there, you know, the flex in these pole vault bars is very specific to the jumper. That seemed to really bend that bar, which would suggest she's coming on quick to it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of momentum going into the pole.
It looked like she was trying to get more height.
And it's just bend. I mean, it's overbending. Really, right. That looked overbending. You know, and that causes all sorts of timing issues. But yeah, 1 more jump. Let's hope she can pull her finger out.
Chris Akabusi is with us. We'll get his thoughts in a moment, but there is the cheer for Abby Yepitan in this round, Mike, of the 200.
Yeah, she's drawn in lane number 7 here. Got to an Olympic final at this distance as long ago as Athens 2004, but has been injured pretty much since then. She came back to win silver at the Commonwealth Games 2 years ago and has been running just about as quick as ever this season, just shy of her lifetime best. She's drawn in lane 7, 2 lanes to her inside. Carmelita Jeter of the United States, who would have been disappointed to be run out of it in the closing stages of the 100 metres by Jamaica's Shelly-Ann Fraser-Price. Jeter, the world champion last year in the shorter sprint, had to settle for silver this time. Sharon Simpson of Jamaica is outside Oyepitan in 8, and Gloria Asumnu of Nigeria is in 9. And they get away then. This is the third of the first round heats in the women's 200 metres. Annika Onora, third at the moment in the list of 6 fastest losers. And Abby Oyepitan is running a strong bend. Carmelita Jeter is leading for the United States, but Oyepitan is in second place now, being challenged on her outside by Simpson of Jamaica. Jeter will win, and comfortably, but Oyepitan will come through in second place. And that's a very strong run from Abby Oyepitan into second place. 22.66 seconds is the fastest time of the competition so far for Carmelita Jeter, but Abby Oyepitan could hardly have been more impressive. Darren.
What a fantastic bend by Carmelita Jeter. She exploded from the blocks, caught the athlete on the outside after 30 metres, but fair play to Oyepitan. She went with her, considering she hasn't got the 100 metre speed. She came off the bend maybe 3 metres behind her. Carmelita, very impressive. If Oyepitan finished in a time of 22.92, Carmelita Jeter winning in 22.65, and Simpson from Jamaica 22.97. It's heating up.
Is that the kind of form that could trouble Alison Felix and Veronica Campbell-Brown?
Yeah, definitely. If she runs a bend like that, she's going to put them guys under pressure. And the interesting thing there, she used that 100-metre speed to get round the bend, but she was very, very relaxed up the straight. You can see the focus. She's on her toes. She's very relaxed. I would say maybe 30 metres out, she's having a look at the clock and she's slightly easing up. Very, very comfortable.
And maybe fuelled by the disappointment of only silver. I say only, as world champion, she wanted to add the gold medal at the 100 metres.
Kath shaking her head.
Kath is shaking her head. No, Kath, come on.
Carmelita Jeter looked awesome there. But compare it, guys, to how Alison Felix looked. She didn't get out of third gear, Alison Felix, in any part of her race. I think it was a good statement by Carmelita Jeter, and she did look good. But comparing so far the two runs in these early stages of these heats,
you just like 400-metre runners. I'm not even going there with you. I like the 100 200-metre sprinters, and you're going to like the 200, 400-metre sprinters.
But that's why it's exciting, and that's why as this women's 200 metres, Pugas, heats up, you're going to have the strength of Alison Felix, who has got good 100-metre speed, but good strength in the 400 metres against the bare strength and speed, particularly of the 100 metres.
I'm obsessed by Jeter's bodysuit. Put a, you know, it's almost a morph suit, isn't it? It is.
Power Ranger.
Yeah, it is. It's in red. If you put one of those masks on, it would be a morph suit.
Everything's covered apart from her head.
Everything is covered apart from her head.
We have to say, fair play to her, Yapatan. She's had injury problems, and that was a fantastic run. It looks like she's getting close to that form that saw her make the final in Athens.
Yeah. Chris Akabusi, good evening, Chris.
Good evening, Pugas.
You look very smart, if I may say so, in your Team GB blazer and your Team GB tie. Nice navy blue blazer with gold trimming, gold braid, quite right too.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much.
Have you been on official duty today?
I've done some official duty work this afternoon.
Yeah.
Then came on to do a bit of TV before I came and saw.
Before you came to the senior
mic.
service, yes. Now you, exactly as Darren was when you saw Holly Bleasdale, you were feeling the runways, the problem with the runway.
Well, when I saw her running up, I'm coming here with fresh eyes. So I come in there, and as soon as she started running, I knew she wasn't making it. She didn't look confident. She was, I could see a little bit of a stutter step. I don't know what it is that's putting her off, but she didn't have a chance when she planted the pole. It definitely was a runway.
Yeah, she's only got one more go, of course, 3 and you're out. Steve Backley, what's the early news on Isinbayeva? I know he's talking to somebody. Kath, what's the early news on Isinbayeva?
Well, it looks like Isinbayeva will probably come in at the next height. Steve's got his cans on now. Welcome, Steve. 4 metres and 55.
I'm going to blame Tom Fordyce, the BBC's website chief sports writer.
We were just comparing notes as to what the problems are in this women's pole vault, because the problems continue. Still only 2 athletes clear. And at this 4 metres and 45, Marianne Strutz of Germany, silver medalist from the World Championships last year. The big guns aren't in yet. Yelena Isinbayeva, who said isn't in yet, the Russian Olympic champion. Jenny Suhr of United States isn't in yet. And Silke Spiegelberg of Germany are the only 3 athletes who haven't come in yet. But this could be over in the next half an hour, this competition. If the failure rates continue, it's all over. And it's just bizarre.
Which is why it's a massive opportunity for Holly Bleasdale. If other athletes are struggling, she really needs to focus in now, because she looked a bit stressed. She was getting a bit flustered after that second failure.
That food in your mouth.
That's what she needs to calm down. I wasn't expected to speak, Darren, because Steve's on the pole vault and he was chatting to Tom.
Yeah, let's go to Sonia.
Well, Abby Oyepatan, many congratulations, safely through to the semi-finals. Was that actually as comfortable as it looked?
Yeah, pretty much. I eased up a bit. I knew I had second. I could feel showing sips on my right, but I knew that if I had to push it, I would have. But it was fine.
When you looked at the draw, did you think, oh gosh, typical, I've got Carmelita Jeter in there?
I didn't look at the draw, I just saw them in the call-up, and I did. I was like, bloody hell, sorry. Yeah. But yeah.
It's all right, we understand the sympathy, but apologies if anyone's offended by that.
Yeah, so I was a bit, not worried, but apprehensive, I suppose.
But you didn't need to be, because in a sense, she was outside you, so was that sort of almost the perfect, you could just watch her and go with her?
Oh yeah, somewhat. I only execute my own race. I ran somebody else's race, which is not ideal on the 200 metres, but I was okay, so I'll do better in the semi-final.
OK, and as somebody who's had so many injury problems, you got to this final in 2004. How great is it to be back on this stage, Abby?
Yeah, it's wonderful. I was disappointed not to go to Beijing, but I think London's a great compensation. So, I'm loving it. The crowd's amazing.
And a big smile. So well done to you.
Thank you very much, Sonia. I want to get a little debate going with all the guys and girls here as the evening develops on what Keon Rayner from TV Jamaica was telling us when he said Usain Bolt will be at Rio. It's a question of what he's going to run there. So with Kath and Chris, we can talk about would it be 400 metres. We've obviously got Darren to talk about the 100 and 200. Would he be too old, he thinks, at 30 to run the 100? I think it could be a really interesting debate. And also, particularly after Michael Johnson and Roger Black were with me a couple of weeks ago in the studio, who both implied, Michael Johnson said, I've talked to Usain Bolt about 400 metres and it's a bit too much like hard work. Sonia, at the press conference last night, what were people saying about the 400 in Rio?
Well, it was a packed house at the press conference for Usain Bolt last night. You couldn't, standing room only, people elbowing their way through the door to listen to the great man. And inevitably he was asked about his plans for the future and what he might do beyond London, and that question came up again about the 400 metres, and he was very funny. He just laughed, a big belly laugh, and shook his head, and he went, no, I hate the 400 metres. So it could be an interesting conversation between him and Coach Mills if that gets put on the agenda going forward. Of course, there's been speculation too that he might do the long jump. But I remember when I asked Asaf Pal once why he didn't do 200, and he just went, oh, no, 200's too far. Yeah. So the idea of Bolt doing 400, I think that's like a marathon to him.
Well, you do get that sense, don't you? Anyway, I'll get everybody's views on that in a second after. Well, here's somebody who runs 200 and 400, Sanya Richards-Ross, Mike.
Yeah, she's drawn in lane number 8 here. Less than 24 hours after her success, a narrow one over Christine Ohurugu in the 400 metres, and she's drawn in lane 8. Laverne Jones-Ferret of the US Virgin Islands in lane 4. On times so far this season, and indeed personal best, would be the only real threat to Richards-Ross and her advancement to the semi-finals. And they leave their blocks, and Richards-Ross on her outside has Soto of Venezuela to chase, and she goes through past her over the first 80 metres or so and into the home straight, and she leads from Laverne Jones-Ferret in second place. Indeed, Jones-Ferret now takes it up and goes on from Richards-Ross, showing that 400-metre strength in the closing stages of the 200 metres, who surges through to win. And Laverne Jones-Ferret just hangs on for second place from Stoy of Ukraine in third. 22.48 seconds is the winning time, and it's the fastest of the first round.
Jones-Ferret ran the best bend, came off the bend and maybe 3-4 metres ahead of Richards-Ross, but Richards-Ross used that 400-metre strength, kept relaxed, kept clawing her back. But if she runs a bend like that come the semi-final against 100-metre sprinters, she's not going to claw them back.
Chris Akabusi, is it really conceivable, age 26, 27, 28, that Usain Bolt would suddenly want to run 400 metres?
Well, you know what? 4 years is a long time, and it depends what's happened in his career up until then. Depends how his muscular and skeletal is hanging up. But you know what? If you want to be a real legend, Olympic champion 1, 2, 4 over a glittering career, I'm loving the sound of that, baby.
Oh, it would be something
the sound
out.
Of that.
But it's hard work. You tell us it is. And in all seriousness, tell us what the disciplines and the changes to his training program if he's suddenly going to start running the longer distance.
Well, I mean, he wouldn't do the sort of work that I did. He's not going to do 500, 600. He's not going to do repetitions of threes that often. But the odd 3, 2, 1 down the clock, the odd fast speed work, he can step in and do that. What will really depend upon whether he does it in the Olympic Games will be the scheduling.
We're going to come back to this in a second. Holly Bleasdale, it's now or never, Steve Backley.
Huge opportunity here for Holly Bleasdale. The third attempt at her opening height.
No,
and she stops on the runway. Returns to the start position. She was just put off there. She has looked flustered. The big screens at the end of this Olympic Stadium have shown her face, and she just looks as though she might be flapping a little bit. She's looking to her left. I think there's a wind issue, you know, there's some crosswinds maybe blowing around. Looking to her coach there, he's saying go. 20 seconds left on the clock. Pole raised high aloft as she strides out into the pole vault, plants, drives, and she's clear! She's clear at her opening height of 4 metres and 45 on her third attempt, and she joins only 2 others who have gone clear. under pressure. She showed some mettle there.
That is massive, 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 massive. To stop on the runway when you're going to attempt, or with your third attempt, to go back, resettle yourself, 20 seconds left, and go for it and clear that. Very, very impressive. Massive.
I think that's the kind of jump that Holly Bleasdale wouldn't have been able to do this time last year. She's moved on so much in world terms. She's maturing all the time. She was flapping after her second failure. She looked across to her coach, Julian Rafali. He calmed her down, and that was a huge jump. That could potentially be a medal-winning jump for Holly Bleasdale because of the quality and the standard of this women's pole vault final. That was massive.
Chris, I'm so impressed. I thought she'd gone. I thought mentally she looked scrambled when she stopped that run-up.
Definitely, as I said, the run-up was awful. You could see jogging, stopping, starting. She stopped again. But I'll tell you what happened to her there. I reckon she went from procedure into the flow. She just went into the flow, went to a whole new zone. And actually, it was just the will and the flow and the moment that popped her over that bar. And she just got into another face from right-hand brain into left-hand brain.
Well done her. Kath, OK, what about your thoughts on Usain Bolt? Could he really suddenly do the extra hard work?
No.
No one thinks he can,
Kath
really.
will tell you, I was crazy. I'd do the sprinters work and then go and join in with Jamie Balsh with the 400 metre work. I hated it.
Is it much harder? All right, serious question. Is it much harder work, the 400 metre work, than the sprinting work?
It's a totally different rhythm. That's the problem.
So now, it's not harder work or not harder work.
Yeah,
it's different.
No, it is harder work because you've got to do the over distance work. Now, they're already saying he's lazy doing the 100 and 200 metre work, so I don't see how they're going to get him to do the 400 metre work. It makes no sense at all.
Yeah,
to me.
I think it's the upward trend in terms of quantity and in distance. But hearing Chris there saying, he won't be running 5s and 6 like I did. I need to go and have a word with my coach Linford Christie after we come off air, because he made me do that, and he made me run the 5s and the 6s and the longer stuff. But you know what it is, Mark? It has to be catered for each individual. I'm sure Sanya Richards-Ross doesn't do the same 400 training as that Alison Felix would do, and Alison Felix can run fast over 400 metres. I just don't think he has the drive and desire to potentially want to put in the hard work that is needed.
It's a game of Cluedo, this, so I think we've eliminated the 400 from our inquiry, so maybe we are going to see him. We'll come back to this in a second. High jump. No, we want to see him on the track, and the long jump wouldn't really quite do it, would it? We want to see him on the track. We'll come back to this, and Chris Mitchell quickly at the basketball can tell us about the GB coach quitting, Chris.
Yeah, Chris Finch has gone after 7 years. He announced in the news conference after their win over China that he's had enough. Not in a negative way, it's just time for somebody else to step in. He's going to concentrate on his NBA career, where he's an assistant coach at Houston. So he's been a great servant to the game. He was a player for Sheffield way back in the day in '94. He's coached throughout Europe. He's had a great reign with Great Britain, if you think about it, Mark, because Great Britain were nowhere. They were in Division B in Europe, which is pretty dreadful, really. And he got them up into Division A and then got them to 2 European Championships. And this Olympics, where mercifully, just a few hours ago, they beat China, who are a top 10 ranked team. So no mean feat at all. And it was the win, of course, we were all looking for. So the question is, who will be next? And that will be something for Chris Spice, who runs GB Basketball with others, to ponder. Bob Donewald also quit as the China coach. He is perhaps an outside option.
Chris, thank you very much indeed. Talking of Sheffield, the Sheffield Star newspaper reports that the Don Valley Stadium is likely to be renamed after somebody in Sheffield. I think we can all guess who that probably is, Jessica Ennis.
Tony Minicello.
Well, this is the 5th of 6 first round heats in the women's 200 metres, a distance which was won at the last Olympic Games by Fanny Blankers-Koen, the legendary Dutch woman who won 4 gold medals at those games and was described at the end of the games in a British newspaper as a great athlete and also a good cook. And a worthy successor here in the shape of Veronica Campbell-Brown of Jamaica, who's won the last 2 Olympic titles. She is the only athlete ever to successfully defend the Olympic 200 metres title. And here, according to her form so far this season, she could well make it 3 in a row. She's drawn in lane number 4. Outside her, the European champion from 2 years ago, Myriam Soumare of France. Ezin Okperibo of Norway, born in Nigeria, is in lane 6. Natalia Rusakova in 7 for Russia. And Maria Ryemyen of Ukraine on the outside in lane 9. This is one of the higher quality first round heats in the women's 200 metres. And still one to come, featuring the Olympic 100 metres champion, Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce of Jamaica. Annika Onura of Britain at the moment is in the 6th and final fastest loser spot, with 2 heats still to come. They're down on their blocks in heat 5. And Veronica Campbell-Brown, drawn in lane 4, has Soumare, the French athlete, on her outside, and Soumare has started very well, as has Ryemyen on the outside for Ukraine. And it's Ryemyen with a slight lead from Soumare, now being joined on her inside by Veronica Campbell-Brown. Soumare from Campbell-Brown, who looks as though she's doing just enough to qualify. Soumare looks across and sees Ryemyen of Ukraine come through to take it. From in second place, Soumare, and in third place, Veronica Campbell-Brown, the defending champion.
Soumare came off the bend in the lead. She ran the best bend. Lane 5, Campbell-Brown, I think trying to conserve some energy after the 100 metres, finishing 3rd. This is a title that she's won twice already. I wouldn't rule against her winning it for a 3rd time, but she will have to run better than that. Remene from Ukraine, 22.58. I think so far the fastest of all the 200 metre heats. The French athlete Soumare, 20.70. Campbell-Brown, 22.75.
100 metre champion Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce in the last of the women's heats. We're going to go back to Chris Mitchell now, because we've got an interesting game this evening in the basketball between Spain and Brazil. The winning team play the dream team in the semi-finals. Chris, I would have thought that the authorities will be watching the way this match is played out very closely.
Yes, this is reminiscent of badminton gate, isn't it? Those 4 pairs of players from China, South Korea and Indonesia chucked out for not trying. I don't think we're going to see that here, but you're right. Brazil are about to play Spain. The losers would most probably avoid meeting the United States in the semi-finals. So this is a game both sides would like to lose. Of course, neither side has said that. Both sides have said they want to win the game, but we all know sat here, all the journalists know sat here, that actually losing would be the better option. I'm not sure, though, what the authorities could do about it, Mark, because we have seen this in international ball games before. It's very difficult to prove that a basketball team is not trying. It's easy, or relatively easy, for the coaches to field a weakened lineup, to play strange tactics, and to lose the game very cleverly. And I suspect we might see something like that tonight here in the basketball arena, but whether you can legislate against it is another thing.
Fab, what do you think? I mean, will you as a coach and a player be able to detect in the approach of these two teams what exactly they're up to?
Me, as a coach, I coach to try and win every basketball game that we play. That's me as a coach. That's what I tell my players. That's the attitude that you have of the players. Now, playing on this level and playing for the magnitude of perhaps getting a gold medal, the tactics probably will be the same as the coach tell the players, but at the same time, in the coaching staff, if you have injured players, you're not going to play your players, because of the simple fact that if they have slight injuries or niggling injuries or anything that's bothering them, you're going to save them, because it's not a do or die situation. In any do or die situation, you play all your players available to you. If any of your players are injured or any of your players played too many minutes, then you hold them back, which would increase your chances of losing the game.
But for those, Fab, who are playing, I would have thought in some sort of way the opportunity to play the dream team at the Olympics would actually be quite an attractive one.
Yeah, it is, but you want to play that. You want to play them in a gold medal game, and a case of the American pun of for all the marbles, so to say, and a do or die situation where everyone is, it's more of an upset if you beat them in a gold medal game as opposed to the semifinal game, because if whoever wins the gold medal game, the story is going to be who beat the Americans in the semifinal, even though the gold medal Americans is out, even though that the team would have won the gold medal. So the biggest story is who's going to beat the American team. So with that, you want to beat the American team in the gold medal stages, in the gold medal stage.
We're going to keep a close eye on that through Fab and Chris for now. Let's go to Alice Sarica, another goal in the hockey.
24 minutes left to play here. The second goal has gone the way of the Dutch, and it came from a penalty corner. And prior to that point, Sean Curley, they'd had 2 penalty corners. They'd made a complete hash of both of them, but this one nicely worked as it came to the back of the D. Pauwman fed Van Ass, who had been the player who had actually injected the ball from the back line, as she swept it past Best Story. 1-1.
Yeah, good response from the Dutch. I mean, they have been the major shareholder in the play at the moment. They've been pressing Great Britain, but not looking quite as dangerous as when Great Britain actually get up into the Dutch circle.
Laura Bartlett on the ball for Great Britain at the moment, Mark. They are level at 1 goal apiece here to decide who tops Pool A. These sides, both of them, have qualified already for the semi-finals. 23 minutes left to play.
We're looking away to our left. Holly Bleasdale about to jump again. Usain Bolt, then Darren Campbell. We've ruled him out of the 400 in Rio, really, because it's too much like hard work. So he's going to run the 100 then, presumably.
I think he'll always run the 100. I just don't see why he would at the age of 30, because that's what we're talking about. So we're talking about a 4-year cycle, so he's going to relearn another event. I just don't see it. When everybody's making comments such as if he only focused on the 100 and 200, well, technically they're the easiest races to train for. I don't mean easiest in the respect that they're not difficult. I mean the amount of loading you're going to have to do. He's not going to want to do the 400. The training for the 400 is painful.
So do you think maybe because his body has had a few ups and downs, maybe he'll run next year World Champs, then he might almost have a quiet year? He might almost just tick over that year and then have 2 years to gear up for a finale.
Well, the other thing, every single year he has a problem with his back. I think that's just a generic thing. So again, you're not going to overload the back by running 400 metres. It really, it doesn't seem plausible to me.
Wouldn't it be thrilling to think he's going to run in Rio? To go for a three-peat?
I tell you what would be thrilling, if he did decide to go in the 400 metres and go for Michael Johnson's record. I'd get involved in that all day long, yeah.
Steve, we're getting ready for Holly Bleasdale.
As she follows 3 athletes who have gone clear at this new height of 4 metres and 55. This is her first attempt as she sprints towards the takeoff area. Again, comes up short, doesn't knock the bar off, but it will be a red flag as she just didn't quite get through enough to even knock the bar off. So first time failure at the new height of 4 metres and 55 for Holly Bleasdale.
And Mike Costello, we're just getting ready for the next heat of the 200 metres as well, and they're coming up to their blocks.
And this is the last of the first round heats. Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce of Jamaica, the 100 metres champion, is drawn in lane number 2. Says that she got her sprinting prowess from her mother, who was an illegal street vendor in a ghetto in Kingston in Jamaica, and often had to wrap up quickly and run away from the police. She's drawn in lane number 2, the newly crowned World Junior Champion, Antonique Strawn. Her surname looks like Strachan, but she says she wants to pronounce it Strawn. She's in 5, and Brizgina of Ukraine on the outside should be the other qualifier here on times. Now, Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce starts very quickly with that 100-metre speed over the first 80 metres or so and into the home straight, and she leads. On her inside, Crystal Emmanuel of Canada is also running well. Strawn at this stage now is coming through, the World Junior Champion, to challenge Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce, but Fraser-Pryce will just get there on the line from Strawn in second place, Brizgina in third, 22.72 seconds, and that means that all the big guns are through to the semi-finals tomorrow evening. 3 Americans, Sanya Richards-Ross, Alison Felix and Carmelita Jessa. And now for Jamaica, Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce, Veronica Campbell-Brown and Sharon Simpson. And now we look to see if there will be 3 Britons as well. We know that the British champion Margaret Adeoye is there. We know that Abby Oyepitan is there, and we're waiting to see if Annika Honora will get through as a fastest loser, and I think she will. There are 6 places available, and I believe that she's 6th in that list unofficially, and we'll confirm that in the next few moments.
Let's go straight down to Sonia McLaughlin.
Yes, where Sanya Richards-Ross, new Olympic champion over 400 metres, woohoo, has also qualified for the 200. Have you had any time at all to let that sink in and to enjoy it? Because you're back on the track already.
I did a little. Last night, my entire family and my hubby was here, my coaches, everybody came over, and we celebrated till about 2 in the morning. And everyone's telling me, go to sleep, you have to get ready for tomorrow. And I laid down, but I couldn't sleep. I was just so pumped up to be living my dream. So wasn't sure how I'd run today. So I'm very happy that I made it through and ran well in the first round. And I'm really excited about tomorrow.
You were the red-hot favourite 4 years ago and, of course, beaten by Britain's Christina Horrigu in Beijing. So how much does it mean to you to have finally got that tangible reward for all the talent that you've proved over the last so many years?
It feels amazing. You know, good things come to those who wait, and so I've been very patient, and I actually think I appreciate it more having gone through so much to get it. And it's the only medal I've ever put on and not taken off I wore it the entire night. I was just so excited. I had it on in bed for a little bit, and then my hubby took it, and now my dad has it because he always gets my medal. So it's just been phenomenal for me, and you know, I'm excited to be the Olympic champion now in 2012.
Christina Horrigu was closing you down in that home straight.
Yeah.
Be honest. How worried were you by the threat from her?
To be very honest, I wasn't worried. This year, I wanted to focus on myself and my lane. I didn't feel Christine until the race was over, to be very honest. She was out in 8. I felt Didi when I passed her on the straightaway, but I didn't know where Christine was, and I focused on the finish line and knew I had crossed it first, and I was just so excited, so I wasn't really aware of her in the moment.
And in this 200 metres, do you feel you can get in amongst the mix? There's some phenomenal 200-metre athletes in this mix.
Oh, yeah, this is an amazing field, and I know it's going to be a tough task to grab a medal, but I'm going to give it my very best effort like I did in the 400 and run all the way through the tape and then pray that I can grab a medal.
Well done to you.
Many
congratulations.
Mark,
Sanya Richards-Ross will be a fantastic poker player because she still will not acknowledge Christina Horrigu.
No, she really would be. It's like you know, it's like Voldemort. She's not allowed to say her name, is she?
No,
does not exist. The Dutch 2-1 up in the hockey. Kath's got an update on the women's shot put.
Well, it's got a bit exciting here in the Olympic Stadium because the gold medal has been won and Nadezhda Ostapchuk from Belarus is doing a lap of honour after she's let go of her coach. She is hugging him like she does not want to let go at all. She came in as the world leader. She threw 21 metres and 36 and she beat her arch rival, her nemesis from New Zealand, Valerie Adams, who therefore takes a silver medal with a throw of 20 metres and 70. And Adams' last loss was to Ostapchuk back in Zurich in 2010. So that's a big win for Ostapchuk. And Russia's Yevgenia Kolenko, she threw a personal best of 20 metres and 48 to take the bronze.
And Mark, we have the full tabulated list from the first round of the men's 200 metres, and Annika Onura has not made it through as a fastest loser. She's just outside that all-important list of 6. So for Britain, Margaret Adeoye and Abby Oyepitan are into the semi-finals tomorrow evening.
It's Radio 5 Live at the Olympics with Mark Pugach and the team in the Olympic Stadium at 8:05.
This is the Olympic Station.
An Olympic dream is realised.
London 2012.
On 5 Live.
It was a bold selection, but Jason Kenny delivered once more in the velodrome.
Round the banking, in towards the finishing straight. It's going to be Kenny's all the way. Jason Kenny is the Olympic champion. A superb ride. There was no stopping him this time. Kenny, yes he can.
Earlier, Britain's show jumpers took team gold in Greenwich. That's 18 gold so far. Beth Tweddle won her first Olympic medal of bronze in the uneven bars. There'll be one more medal at least in the boxing. Nicola Adams has reached the semi-finals. And then the next hour, Di Green goes for gold in the men's 400 hurdles. Holly Bleasdale continues in the pole vault. And on Olympics Extra, there's women's hockey. Great Britain 2-1 down at the moment to Holland.
Remember, you can catch every Olympic moment right here on 5 Live. And also over on our new digital radio station, 5 Live Olympics Extra. And if you miss it, catch up later on the BBC Sport website. This is the Olympic Station.
BBC Radio 5 Live.
I'm Faye Rusco with the BBC 5 Live News. Britain is celebrating its 17th and 18th golds on day 10 of the London Olympics. There's been success at the velodrome and the show jumping. Beth Tweddle also achieved a bronze after her performance on the uneven bars at the gymnastics. Nick Clegg's dropped plans to reform the House of Lords in the face of fierce resistance from Conservative backbenchers. The Deputy Prime Minister says that in response, the Liberal Democrats will oppose changes to parliamentary boundaries. The White House says the Syrian regime is crumbling from within. Syria's Prime Minister Riyad Hijab is believed to be in Jordan after defecting. The Pentagon has revealed that the man suspected of opening fire at a Sikh temple in Wisconsin, killing 6 people, was a former soldier. Wade Michael Page, who was shot dead by police in the incident, had been a specialist in psychological operation but was dismissed from the US Army more than a decade ago. And the uncle of the missing 12-year-old girl, Tia Sharp, has appealed for her to come home. Tia was last seen leaving her grandmother's home in New Addington in South London on Friday. At a police news conference, her uncle David Sharp said she'd never run away before and had no reason to.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
London 2012 with Mark Pougatch.
Chris Akabusi is with us as we build up towards Dye Green and the 400 hurdles final. Canada-USA, this is the women's football semi-final. A goal there for Ian Dennis to tell us about.
And a shock on the cards here at Old Trafford, Mark, as well, because Canada, conquerors of Great Britain, are leading the Olympic champions and favourites, the United States, by 1-0. And it was a lovely goal too. The left back with a piercing ball to Tancredi, who turned and laid it off first time to the prolific Christine Sinclair with a composed finish. She beat Solo in goal, and Canada lead the United States, who have dominated so far, but Canada have the lead 1-0.
Japan beat France 2-1 in the first semi-final at Wembley. The legendary Ed Moses won 400 metres hurdles gold in 1976 and 1984. This is what happened when he met with Dye Green to analyse the Welshman's World Championship win last year.
I'm not the fastest guy for the first 200. I'm just never going to be. It's just the way I am. I'm not as fast as those guys, and I have to put so much emphasis on getting that first 5 hurdles really right. And
yeah, because that happened to me too, and I had to concentrate on my start, and I became the best starter out there.
Yeah.
And finally they get away, and for Dye Green, many years of hard work.
I went off really hard for the first 200, and I probably hurdled 5 hours, about level with some of the top guys. And then my best part of my race is usually 5 to 8. When I do my change down, I'm usually really good, really aggressive. But because I put so much emphasis on getting that first 200 right, that I sort of thought, when I got to hill 5, I thought, I've done that really well.
Green is in contention on towards the top of the bend now.
And then the part where I usually pick it up, it just didn't seem to happen so much on the bend.
You're running way outside.
I think I lost a slight concentration. I didn't hug the inside of the curb well enough and things like that. And now when we come over 8, I can see for the first time that I'm not where I want to be. I'm not as far forward. And this is when I really have to dig deep.
Any one of 5 could win.
Then I knew as soon as I got to the last hurdle, I could really switch the turnover on and then be confident I could improve my speed from hurdle 10 to the finish line. So as long as I was close to close, I knew I could get him.
From Green! Green is getting up! Green wins! For Britain, 48.27.
Also during that season, I did feel that I could win races from almost any sort of part in the field, and I'd always believed that I was going to win that race as well. So I didn't let him get too far away, but further away than I wanted. I'd probably give myself a 7 maybe. It wasn't that bad a race, but I can do better.
I'd say about a 7. I think he understands what mistakes that he made and some of the weaknesses, like getting out that first 70 to 90 or 110 meters. It's going to be important, and it's good that you understand that, because that's one of the areas you probably should work on. And you know this already from just speaking with you as a start. In order to win the gold in the Olympics, you need to understand that the race is probably going to be 7, 8 tenths, maybe up to a second faster, and be ready for that. And the start is going to be the key, because once you get the momentum coming out of the blocks, you keep that going. If you don't have it out of the blocks, you're never going to have that opportunity to capitalize on it.
That's the legendary Ed Moses with Dye Green. We'll get Chris Akabusi's thoughts on that in a second, but Steve Backley, Holly Bleasdale about to go again in the pole vault.
She is, as she raises the bar another time to a second attempt here at 4 metres and 55. We have had a succession of clearances. Currently, Bleasdale by the event or the clearances so far. Is in an equal 5th position. That's all to change as the competition unfolds. Surely many clearances to come. She's looking to her left, which I think she's looking for the indication of when the wind's in the right direction. It's not a strong wind, but it is changing direction, and she's just waiting for opportunity. She's only got a minute to start her run up. There's 14 seconds left on the clock. Get it on with it, Holly, I'm thinking. But here she goes with a few seconds to spare. Great roar as she... Oh, it's not good again. She doesn't knock the bar off. It is a foul. The bar just seemed to... I don't know, the pole rather just seemed to overbend and then sprung back on her, and she just stepped onto the mat. It's another foul. She'll have one more attempt at this height.
Holly Bleasdale having quite an introduction to her Olympic Games. Well, in the last 24 hours, we really have had an array of Olympic gold medalists with us. Donovan Bailey last night. We've also had from the world of tennis John McEnroe. We had Lennox Lewis. We have another one now, Cathy Freeman, of course, star of the Sydney Games in 2000. And, of course, beat our own Kath Merry into bronze. Cathy, thank you for your time. Very nice to see you.
Thank you for having me.
Where were you on Saturday night, as a matter of interest, when Jess Ennis was winning?
I was watching it from a corporate
Oh, you were
lounge.
here, were you? Yes.
Oh, yeah, I was definitely here.
Did you recognise the atmosphere? Did it remind you of something?
Yeah, it reminded me of a little event that happened 12 years ago.
Yeah, it was very similar, wasn't it? It really was. I was very lucky. I was there, as we all were 12 years ago. We knew how much pressure you were under and the country expected, and it was the same with Jess.
No, I'm so happy for everybody. Anyone would think I'm a Brit, the way I reacted. No, I'm very happy for Jess and the whole nation. It's wonderful.
And just from your own point of view, going back 12 years, how did you deal with the level of expectation?
Oh, I guess I did pretty well, given that I won.
But in the run-up to the race, how did you make sure that it didn't get the better of you?
Oh, I think it just comes down to the joy of running and competing and, setting your own ground rules and being happy and keeping it simple, doing exactly what the coach tells you to do.
I mean, Kath Merry's down below us now said, actually, Kath's literally just down there, so you can have a chat with her later. There she is. She said on that night, look, we all knew pretty well that you, Cathy, were going to win.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, she tells you that now, 12 years on. Yeah, that would have taken a lot of pressure off. And, of course, when it came to the 800, Jess had already won on Saturday night. But, of course, before she started the first event, the hurdles, everybody's like, she's been the poster girl for 2 years. You couldn't go into a newsagent without seeing a picture in a magazine. You couldn't fill out with Petra without seeing her on a billboard. You have to be a strong you have to be a strong character to deal with all that.
I agree. I think you have to have presence of mind. You have to be very clear on, what it is that you want to do and how to do it.
And when Mo Farah came off the final bend, that was a noise that we haven't heard in this country before, certainly not for a long time, a sustained crescendo of noise.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. You'll never forget it, and it will remain in your body for a very long time.
I tell you who else is down there. Steve Waugh was down there.
Ah, yes.
Of course, the legendary Australian cricket captain. And he said to Australian television, I've never heard a noise like that. And he's played in some of the great... He's obviously played the Melbourne Cricket Ground, which is one of the great cricket grounds of the world. He said he'd never heard a noise like that before.
Oh, well, there you go. That's another, big endorsement.
There you are. There's Kath Merry. Kath, I'm afraid I've just outed you, that you said to me that you all knew when you lined up in 2000 that Cathy here pretty well was going to win.
Hey, we all knew that. We all knew that. Cathy knew that.
Tell me. Excuse my language.
No, I think we can let that one go at 8:15. I think we can let that one go through. But you really did. You said that to me the other day, Kath. We were obviously talking about Jess and drawing the conclusion, drawing the parallel there.
It was just written in the stars. It was just scripted perfectly that Cathy, with all the pressure and all the build-up, was going to be crowned Olympic champion. And in Cathy's defence, she was the fastest woman in the world. She had the Olympic silver and she had the momentum behind her. I think the seven of us knew it was going to be Cathy's to lose, and I think Cathy's right in that saying, well, I wasn't so sure. I was a little bit nervous, but Cathy, we all knew.
Oh, well, there you go. There you go.
And it was destiny.
When you woke up the next morning, had the motivation to run again pretty well gone? I mean, interested with Jess Ennis.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's just my journey. That's just my story. I think all that I'd ever really dreamt of was that one gold medal. So once I got it, and in the way that I got it, I wasn't prepared for this, the other, you know, all the honour of a lot of, you know, the cauldron lighting and just being this face of the games. I wasn't ready for that, and I think it was good timing. I should have probably retired after Sydney, but I got to run at the Commonwealth Games in Manchester, so yeah, that was memorable.
Darren Campbell's punching the air. Was it? Yes. So the next one it was a sort of sense of relief as much as anything.
Totally. I mean, you know, all of the mental application, it's more the emotional exhaustion, I think, more than the physical.
Yeah, that's what you always hear, actually, isn't it? I mean, Darren, you'll know that mentally it's actually, I mean, because you're fit and you're ready to train and you're ready to race, but you can't necessarily train your brain to deal with the mental stress of it all.
No, because you kind of can't rehearse that part. You can train and practice how you're going to run down the bend and down the back straight and all of those things, but how you're mentally going to feel when you stand on that start line, when the starter says tracksuits off and it's your moment to shine. There's no way you can mentally prepare for that. All you can do is have total belief in what you're trying to do.
Well, bringing news of this 400 hurdles semi-final in a second. Kath.
I think the question that Kathy could easily answer with this, to show how mentally exhausted she was more than physically, is that after our final, Kathy just collapsed on the track. She pulled the hood off from that wonderful bodysuit that you wore, by the way.
It was wonderful,
that took us all by surprise. We thought, what's Kathy doing? This is different.
Everybody wears them now.
What was going through your mind, though, Kathy, at that moment in time when you... And I walked over to you, and I can't remember now. I do not know what I said to you, but I think it was along the lines of, well done, you had a good one.
Yeah, and it was all very nice what you said. I can't remember what you said. But it was all good.
But was it relief?
Was a British lady would have been nice. We know that.
It was relief, though, Kathy, wasn't it? I think we all felt that for you.
Oh, no, it was lovely. I mean, you know, I think the lovely thing about competitors is that you are, in a sense, very much at one with each other, you know, and to share a wonderful memory like that, we'll hold that forever, you know, in our hearts. So.
Kathy, if you're right for 1 second, we're just going to go to Holly Bleasdale, and if we may, a couple more to you. We thank you for your time. Steve, well, she did it last time. She's going to have to do it again.
Very
Clear
crucial
the jump
time.
with the last attempt.
Exactly as she did at the previous height. We've been hearing about mental strength from the great Cathy Freeman. And here we go. Holly Bleasdale is going to need to be mentally strong. She looks across to her coach, waiting for the signal that the wind is favourable. And that needs to come soon because her clock is counting backwards. She looks as though she's very tense in the face, Holly. I'm just wondering how she's handling the pressure of this Olympic final. At the age of 20, she's wincing because the coach is very adamant. No, hold, wait. She's looking to the clock. She knows that the pressure will mount as the seconds tick by, and now she goes. Here she goes. 4 metres 55. Can she go clear? She just clipped the bar. You'll hear the sigh from the crowd. Wow, 4 metres 55 is the exit for Holly Bleasdale. 3 crosses, 3 fails, and that's the end of her work. No better than 5th place, but still respectable.
Steve, thank you very much. Kathy, I know you've been asked this before, so forgive me.
You're forgiven.
When did you decide to wear the bodysuit that night?
Oh, I decided 6 months out.
Because,
well, I believed in the research and design team there at Nike, and you know, it's all psychological as well as, you know, obvious physical benefits. Yeah. So,
did it look intimidating, Kath? There you are up against Australia's darling, and she's in a bodysuit.
I don't think it was intentional, but if it was, Kathy, it was a perfect move, because I lined up in lane number 3. My British compatriot who'd been training with Kathy, Donna Fraser, was in lane 2. And the first whistle goes, so you take your kit off, and we took all our tracksuits off, and Kathy pulled this hood on her head. And for one moment, I was distracted. I'm like, what is Kathy wearing? And I had to get my focus back for the race, so it was a distraction. And where is it now, Kathy? Where's that suit?
It is on a mannequin in a museum in Melbourne.
Fair play. Holly Bleasdale in tears, not surprisingly, have a hug with her coach, but it's a great Olympic experience, and she'll be the better for it. So, Kath, for you, it worked a little bit. Even if Kathy here didn't mean it, you were a little like, whoa, what's happening here?
Yeah, it was whoa, what's happening here? This looks kind of funky. I've never seen this kind of stuff before.
Why did Nike never give me that?
Yeah, I couldn't. I want one of those. Do you know what I mean? And of course, if Kathy hadn't worn it, I'd have won. It's that straightforward.
Possibly.
Yeah, the technology and everything around it. But no, it was. I can't. It was so nice when me and Kathy spoke last year down the line on 5 Live, and afterwards we had a chat, and Kathy said it's nice that we can speak because there's only 7 other people in the world that can actually give a viewpoint of that amazing race on that Magic Monday. So it's always nice to speak to you, Kathy.
It's lovely to see you.
And we'll talk kids after.
All right, sure.
Oh, bless. And then the way that you ran round afterwards with the 2 flags, your Aboriginal flag and the Australian flag, that was an important moment for Australia at the time, wasn't it? That display that you did.
Well, thank you for mentioning that. I mean, it was very relevant, very relevant to me personally and very relevant to the Australian public, but more so to the Indigenous community. So,
Kathy, thank you very much. We really appreciate you stopping by and talking to us.
It's lovely to see you. Thank you.
Really good. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Dan.
I'm quite emotional.
Yeah.
It just brings so much back for me. It's just wonderful to see you in London, Kathy.
Oh, thanks.
And I've had a poster which I bought in the Sydney Games, that long panoramic narrow poster, and it's been sitting in my drawer for 12 years. I'm going to go home and frame it. I'm actually going to finally put it in a frame now.
Sure.
Yeah.
Maybe if you bring it back, you might get it signed.
Oh, that would be great.
Mine's been in my study for 12 years.
That was a rather pathetic way of saying, will you sign my poster, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I have to send it to Australia. Kathy, thank you very much. Great Britain have lost 2-1 in the women's hockey. So that's a wonderful trip down memory lane with Kathy Freeman and Kath Merry from Sydney 2000. Here's Mike.
Yes, and another one of those eruptions in this Olympic stadium, this time to greet Perry Shakes-Drayton, the athlete in the British team who lives closest to the stadium, just a short walk from here, drawn in lane 7 in the toughest of the 3 semi-finals. Also in this lineup, Kaylee Spencer of Jamaica, drawn in lane number 4. Lashinda Demas, last year's world champion, this year's American champion, very impressive in the first round heats. Anna Yarashuk of Ukraine is in 6. Then it's Shakes-Drayton in 7. Brilliant winner at Crystal Palace 3.5 weeks ago to stamp herself as an outside bet for a medal here, and equally impressive in winning her first round heat to show that the Crystal Palace win was no fluke. She really is starting to get it right. And outside Shakes-Drayton in lane number 8 is Irina Davidova of Russia, the newly crowned European champion, who has clocked exactly the same time as Shakes-Drayton, who has just been relegated to 4th place on the 2012 list by a lightning fast first semi-final won by the world leader on times this year, Natalia Anchuk of Russia. More details on that one to come. Second semi-final underway in the women's 400 metres hurdles. The first 2 will go forward to the final on Wednesday, and Shakes-Drayton has gone off fairly smartly once again as they head on to the back straight. And hurdle number 3, Lashinda Demas leads for the United States, but going well in second place or thereabouts is Perry Shakes-Drayton as they head towards halfway and barrier number 5. Lashinda Demas being followed through by Kaylee Spencer of Jamaica onto the crown of the bend, and Shakes-Drayton is very much in contention here. On her outside, Davidova is trying to stay right with them, but it's Lashinda Demas leading the field into the home straight. She looks as if she'll get the first of the qualifying spots, as Shakes-Drayton was just slightly untidy over the third last barrier, and now it's Shakes-Drayton only in 3rd place. Demas is leading from Spencer, the Jamaican, in 2nd place, and Shakes-Drayton runs on into 3rd place now, but will only qualify for the final as a fastest loser, if at all, as Demas wins in 54.08 seconds. Kaylee Spencer of Jamaica is 2nd, and Perry Shakes-Drayton only 3rd, and a distant one at that, in by far the slowest of the semi-finals so far.
Yeah, this is now going to be the longest couple of minutes of Perry Shakes-Drayton's life. She's now going to watch this final semi-final and look at the clock and just hope, but I just can't see it, Mike. 55.19, it's been confirmed. If she manages to scrape into the final, lightning will have struck twice, because Di Green managed it in the men's 400 hurdles, but I just don't see how that third time of 55.19 can get her in, and that was all done. She stuttered into that second hurdle, and I was worried that she'd lost her momentum. She seemed to regain it, but the damage was done, and we're just looking. She would be currently sitting at second fastest loser, so if this third semi-final goes quick, she can kiss her dreams goodbye.
Chris Akabusi is alongside me. This is your man of the 400 hurdles. What did you think?
Well, I mean, I think it's great experience for Perry Shakes-Stratus. She's first-time Olympian. You know, it was racing against the sort of designate person who we think is going to win this event, and it was tough for her. What can I say? You know, she's come out here, she's done her best. It's going to be, as has already been said, it's going to be a long couple of minutes now. She sees what happens in the last heat, semi-final. But, you know, they know what they've got to do now. They know sub 54, and we're in. You know, it's tough.
Di Green is on the way. It is 8:26. It's news time with Faye Rusco.
Online at bbc.co.uk/5live.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
Team GB's bagged 2 more golds and a bronze today. Cyclist Jason Kenny won gold in the men's sprint. Great Britain's show jumpers got gold in the Olympic team competition after a jump-off against the Netherlands at Greenwich Park. And Beth Tweddle won bronze in the uneven bars. Nick Clegg's accused the Conservatives of breaking the coalition contract after the government dropped its plans for House of Lords reform. He said Liberal Democrat MPs would now not support Tory plans for redrawing constituency boundaries. The Syrian Prime Minister has defected from President Assad's regime and fled to Jordan with his family. Riyad Hijab is the most senior Syrian official to swap sides since the uprising began last year. The uncle of the missing 12-year-old Tia Sharp says she's never gone missing before. Tia was last seen leaving her grandmother's home in South London on Friday. At a police news conference, David Sharp appealed for information about his niece. And a 34-year-old man has pleaded not guilty to a public order offence after a bottle was thrown from the stands onto the track before last night's Olympic 100-metre final. Ashley Gill-Webb, who's from Leeds, appeared at Stratford Magistrates Court this afternoon.
Online at bbc.co.uk.
A quick look at the roads in Derbyshire. One lane of the M1 northbound is closed between Junction 8 and Junction 28 and Junction 29 at Chesterfield. There's a broken down lorry there, but no reports of delays. A fuel spillage in Surrey means one lane of the M25 anti-clockwise is closed at Junction 9 at Leatherhead. In Withensea in Yorkshire, Queen Street's closed between Seaside Road and Halton Road. A gas leak has closed a large section of the road. Traffic's slow there and it's not expected to reopen until at least 10 o'clock. And in Blueberry in Oxfordshire, London Road is completely closed for recovery work after an accident at Westbrook Street. Expect delays there. A diversion is in place, but the road is expected to reopen shortly. Faye Rusco, 5 Live Travel.
5 Live Olympic Breakfast
With Nikki Campbell and Rachel Burden.
Morning everyone, welcome to the Olympics. How was Saturday night for you? Fantastic. How was it for you?
It was brilliant.
Has there ever been a night like that?
No, I was just enthralled. It was excellent.
They loved it, Rachel.
My moment of emotion yesterday, Nikki, came when Andy Murray climbed up into the players' box and his mum, Judy, was just, the tears streaming down and my tears were going.
She is so proud.
Wake up to the games.
on 5 Live. Back tomorrow from 6.
Just a line from Kevin Pietersen, which is quite an interesting one. Asked on Test Match Special at the end of the drawn match in Leeds to give assurances that the next Test match won't be his last, this is what Pietersen replied: "No, I can't give assurances. All be discussed and we'll see what happens. I love playing Test cricket. I love playing Test for England, but there are obstacles and I'll decide what happens at the end of the next Test." So no assurance from Kevin Pietersen that he will continue in Test cricket. Steve Backley, we gave Holly Bleasdale a big build-up. We had high hopes for her. There was an opportunity here this evening. It's not the best pole vault field in Olympic history. She'll be better for the experience, but she'll be disappointed nevertheless.
And that disappointment was just written across her face, Mark. Her face rather. She's distraught. She knocked that was the third attempt, just didn't get close, and she walked away absolutely in bits. He went over and hugged her coach, Julian Raffaelli, and do you know what? she will realise that this is a massive opportunity. Heights that she has been capable of in the past. She's jumped beyond 4 metres. So 4.71 is her best from this year. And the way it seems to be unfolding, that would be a height that might take a medal. So, disappointment for Holly Bleasdale. But as you say, 20 years old, lots to learn, and it's what she does about it that counts.
Sonia McLaughlin is trackside.
Yeah, Alison alluded to an anxious wait for Perry Shakes-Drayton, who we're not sure is going to qualify for the final of the women's 400-metre hurdles. I asked her just a second ago as she rushed through this interview area, Perry, you're going to stay and watch this, see how it goes? She just went, nah. I think she's already worked out that it's nigh on impossible.
And one final one on Holly Bleasdale, Steve. She just never looked happy, did she? She never looked settled.
Flustered, you'd have to say, and the tension in her face and in everything she did just seemed to mount absolutely, and that's disappointing.
There's the cheer. You know what that means. British athlete alert, Mike Costello.
And this time it's Ailey Child drawn on the outside in lane number 9. She finished second behind Perry Shakes-Drayton in the British Olympic Trials in Birmingham at the end of June, and wouldn't be expected to qualify from here. As Alison Kirbishley was saying, Perry Shakes-Drayton at the moment is second of the list of fastest losers, with 2 of them to go through to the final. She needs this to be slower than her semi-final, and it features the reigning Olympic champion Melaine Walker of Jamaica in lane 4. For Ukraine, Hannah Titimets in 5, Joke Odumosu of Nigeria in 6, Georgianne Meline of the United States in 7. And they're underway. Meline for the United States, a new name on the international scene this year, ran very well in the Olympic trials, taking second behind Lashinda Demas, who was so impressive in the previous semi-final, and Meline won her heat, but she's being closed down here by Odumosu of Nigeria. Also running strongly over the first 3 barriers is the defending champion Melaine Walker, but at this stage it's Odumosu who's leading. Ailey Child is trying to stay with them on the outside, but she now is being closed down by Churakova of Russia and Odumosu, who is still there in the lead. She went off very quickly and now has to try to find something in reserve in the home straight, because the challengers are starting to queue up in behind. Over towards the inside, Denisa Rosolova of the Czech Republic, whose ex-husband Lucas Rosol calls that major upset against Rafa Nadal at Wimbledon, is in contention, but Odumosu, who's led virtually from the start and is being chased through now by Meline of the United States in second place. The winning time is 54.40 seconds. It's going to be desperately close, as all eyes now are on the 2 scoreboards at either end of this stadium to see if Perry Shakes-Drayton can get through to the final as a fastest loser. One by one the times will come up. 54.40 seconds for the winner, Odumosu. 54.74 seconds for Meline. 54.87 seconds for Rosolova of the Czech Republic in third place, and that means there will be no place for Perry Shakes-Drayton in the final of the women's 400 metres hurdles.
And I guess the good thing is that it wasn't that close, because if it was literally a 10th or even 100th in it, she would be really kicking herself right now. But it wasn't to be. Rosolova 54.87 will see herself in as the fastest loser. And I tell you what, I like the look of this new American young girl, 22 years old. It's the first time we've seen a Meline, first time we've seen her race outside of America. She's come through the collegiate system. She's had a torrid time of injury. Fell in the NCAAs, which is their college system. Came second, a surprise second behind Demas. And she has been talking herself up. She's been talking about coming here with the chance of a medal. And I thought, well, until we see you race, I'm not sure that could be. But she has impressed me through the rounds, finishing a strong second. But Perry will now go back to the drawing board with her coach Chris Czar and work out where that went wrong, because this event is a soft event. Have no fear. This year, not one woman has broken 53 seconds. This was a huge opportunity for Perry Shakes-Drayton.
Di Green has just walked past, his little red rucksack on his back, luminous running shoes as well. A chance for Di Green. He has the second chance that Perry Shakes-Drayton doesn't, after he made a complete mess of his semi-final, but he got through. Chris Akabusi with Perry and with Holly Bleasdale. We've seen 2 young British athletes who are going to see an awful lot more. Who will, the best thing to say is, be better for the experience?
Yeah, most definitely. 70% of first-timers who come to the Olympic Games, they fail, and they fail for a variety of reasons. And, Perry and Holly are also now part and parcel of that cohort. But don't worry, they'll come back stronger and better in 4 years' time for Brazil.
Usain Bolt. You can tell he's here. A, the roar, B, the flash bulbs. He was all over your morning's newspapers, of course. A lot of people who would have kept those as souvenirs. 100-metre champion again for the second time. But Mike Costello, you were just telling me a documentary you made some 8 years ago. The word 100 and Usain Bolt were never put together.
In a half-hour documentary, nobody all around him, his family, his coaches and pundits in Jamaica, none of them spoke about the 100 metres. At that stage, he was still running 200s and 400s. I went there in May of 2004, just a couple of weeks after he'd broken the world junior record over 200 metres, the first teenager ever to break the 20-second barrier, and he was running in the low 45-second marks as a 17-year-old over 400 metres as well. That was what they were urging him to do at that stage. At the age of 17, the big cry there was that this guy, this is what all the Jamaicans were saying, this guy is going to be the new Michael Johnson. If you listen back to some of what they were saying at that time, it's truly remarkable what they thought he was going to be. They said, we've produced a lot of athletes in this country. This one is going to be better than them all. Arthur Wint, going back to the first games that Jamaica competed at as an independent nation in 1948, the first ever Jamaican gold medalist. Don Quarry won the 200 metres in 1976. Believe me, was the cry from everybody I spoke to. This young lad at 17 is going to be better than a lot of them, and he's going to run 200 and 400 metres. That dream, that itch has been around for a long time, and it might be now that the time has come to scratch it.
The biggest problem when he was 15 is that he didn't have the strength over the 100 metres, i.e. that explosive strength needed in the first 30 metres. The way that he used to run his 200 metres was to almost let everybody go, jog around the bend and then power up the straight. Obviously then when you get into the senior ranks, you can't be giving the top 200 metre runners a gap and trying to close it down. Initially, when he came into the senior ranks, he did try it, but eventually he did have to brush up and work hard on that first 30 metres.
And so now about to step on to the centre of the podium, the star of the show last night, Usain Bolt, and he skips up and raises both arms and turns virtually full circle to take the acclaim of the crowd here. Another astonishing eruption here in the Olympic Stadium on this day, 50 years to the day since Jamaica gained independence from Britain, and Usain Bolt successfully defends his men's 100 metres title, and soon will turn to his right and see his image on the screen at the far end of the stadium, and the Jamaican flag will be raised for the second time in this stadium. Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce taking the women's 100 metres, and just listen to the hubbub all around the stadium. Once again, those blinding flashlights that accompany him just about wherever he goes. And so he turns with his compatriot Johan Blake and Justin Gatlin, the medalists in the men's 100 metres, ahead of the Jamaican national anthem. Number one, boy, says Usain Bolt in the tracksuit designed by Cedella Marley, the eldest daughter of the legend that is Bob Marley, as Jamaica salutes another of its great national heroes.
Usain Bolt, the centre of attention once again in the Olympic Stadium. It's 20-9, and that means in the next few minutes, Team GB's track and field captain and the pride of Wales, Di Green, will face the race of his life in the Olympic final of the men's 400 hurdles.
The night broke cold, my search for gold.
For Di Green, many years of hard work now distilled into the next 50 seconds or so of his career.
Whichever lonely road I take.
you don't train all year, you don't as world champion for a bronze medal. That's not the attitude. You'd have to ask me afterwards if I'm content or happy with my performance.
It's a fight to survive.
Sanchez is leading. Green can't produce the goods in the run to the finish. Sanchez wins from Gordon in second place, Clement in third, Green in fourth. Di Green has sneaked into the final of the 400 metres hurdles as a fastest loser. He gets a reprieve.
The doors are closed to such as I, a boy from nowhere.
If you were to pull it off, you'd be only the third British man in history to win a gold medal at the Olympics over the 400-metre hurdles. 1928 in Amsterdam, Lord Burleigh. And then, of course, 1968, David Hemery in Mexico.
Hemery's going to win. He's over the last hurdle. Hemery's winning the gold for Great Britain.
On the eve of the 68 Moscow Olympics, David Hemery's coach wrote him a little poem. His name was Fred Housden. When others quail and Jeff looks pale and Ronnie's knees are quaking. Jeff and Ronnie were his direct opponents in those days. This is the time to heed my rhyme and to take to record making. You know the point, where out of joint your chopping may go wonky. So don't lose speed, but keep the lead. Each clearance honky-tonky. It's great, isn't it? Can you see your coach, Malcolm Arnold, starting to write you poetry?
You'd probably just write down the words, you better get across the line first or else.
I have to win, I won't give in.
Green is finishing strongly. Here's the chance for Green to seize the moment.
It's the last medal that I'm missing, and it's just a huge opportunity that's come my way, and I hope to make the most of it. I've certainly worked as hard as ever to get there, and I guess to make my dream come true, and it would be fantastic to cross that finish line first in London.
So what's the future? No matter.
Quickly, dramatic news about Perry Shake Straighten.
Perry Shake Straighten has qualified for the final of the women's 400 metres hurdles. History repeating itself. Di Green got a reprieve by qualifying as a fastest loser. So too has Perry Shake Straighten, but in her case only because the Czech athlete Denise Rosolova has been disqualified. We don't know the nature of the offence just yet, but Rosolova of the Czech Republic, who initially finished second in her heat, has been disqualified, and Perry Shake Straighten gets through to the final as the second of two fastest losers.
And straight to Colin Patterson, surrounded by Di Green supporters.
Hello from the Harry Watkin pub in Venenval in Clonachley. This is the village where Di Green grew up. His parents still live here. This is the local pub, the Harry Watkin. He was a local rugby player, a member of Wales' Triple Crown winning side of 1905. And Mark, the landlord, said if Di Green wins gold tonight, they're going to change the name from the Harry Watkin to the Di Green. No pressure then. 300 people crammed in here. Union Jacks, a carbon cut of Di Green. Huge cheers. He appears on the screen and his relatives are here. This is his great uncle Alan. How are you feeling?
Very nervous at the moment.
He's on the screen. What did your heart do?
Pumping, pumping, pumping.
And this is great Auntie Gwyneth. You got off the night shift so you could watch this tonight.
Yes, I wouldn't have missed it for the world.
He was the slowest qualifier. Can he really get a medal?
Of course he can.
Can he get gold?
Of course he can.
Wow, a lot of confidence in the final great auntie of Mary. You looking the calmest. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling well, thank you.
And is he going to do it?
Oh, yes, most definitely.
And finally, Mark, we normally leave you with an impromptu cheer. I'm going to leave you instead with a chant from the Llanelli Gymnastics Club. Go for it, girls. Come on, girls.
Chris Akabusi, they're all behind him. What does he need to have done in the last 48 hours?
I really like the way that happened just now. The crowd was cheering. Di blanked it, wasn't even interested. And that tells me the guy's is in the zone. He knows this is the last chance saloon. He knows that this lane is better than no lane at all. He's done it now. All he's got to do now is just get out of there, be at the bang, and get into stride. I don't agree with Ed Moses. He hasn't got to do anything but the first half of the lane. 5.9 to the first hurdle, 21 flat to the fifth hurdle, and then it's his second bend. He's got to go with his own strength. His strength is that second bend. He messed up in the semi-final. Get it right this time round. Okay, Akabusi's gone.
And so then they wait behind their blocks, and the starter's command to go forward will follow shortly. The full lineup in lane 2, Caron Clement of the United States, In lane 3, Di Green, the world champion last year, through here to the final only as a fastest loser. The double Olympic champion and defending his title from Beijing, Angelo Taylor for the USA in 4. Javier Coulson of Puerto Rico in 5. Silver behind Green in the World Championships last year. Michael Tinsley of the USA in 6. Felix Sanchez, Dominican Republic in 7. J. Hugh Gordon of Trinidad and Tobago in 8. And Lifford Green of Jamaica on the outside in lane number 9. Last year at the World Championships, Hannah England qualified as a fastest loser for the women's 1500 metres and took silver. Can Di Green get amongst the medals here? The reigning world champion is in lane 3 for the men's 400 metres hurdles final.
Set.
And they're underway, so with his reprieve now, can Di Green make a real show here and prove that he is the best 400-metre hurdler in the world, as he did in Daegu last year? On his outside, Angelo Taylor of the United States has gone off very quickly, so too has Javier Coulson of Puerto Rico, and at this stage, Di Green is way towards the back of the field. They're at halfway. And the power in the race all at the moment is Javier Coulson from Michael Tinsley of the USA, and also Angelo Taylor in towards the home straight. Angelo Taylor now leads the field, but he's taken on by both Javier Coulson and the former Olympic champion Felix Sanchez of the Dominican Republic. But Di Green now is coming through to try to make a challenge, as Felix Sanchez now kicks on to take gold 8 years apart. Felix Sanchez wins in 47.64 seconds. Very close for the second and third places, but it's gold to Felix Sanchez of the Dominican Republic at 34 years of age.
Well, I tell you what, you would have got good odds, because this man certainly coming into this wasn't the guy we were talking about. He wears the Superman tattoo on his right arm. And when we saw him perform in that semi-final, which absolutely shocked Di Green to the core, that's when we all started going, you know what, I think Felix Sanchez could win this. And not only has he won it, he's won it in a world fastest time, 47.63. Di Green just had too much to do in that home straight. Yes, that is his strength, but he came into the home straight looking nervous for me. He really didn't look like the Di Green that won the world title, and he will be gutted.
Well, the cheer is for the name of Di Green, which has just appeared on the scoreboards at either end of the stadium here in 4th place, missing out on a medal by just about a tenth of a second or so. Gold, silver and bronze then to Felix Sanchez of the Dominican Republic, gold medalist in Athens in 2004, and now again 8 years on, Michael Tinsley of the USA takes silver, and Javier Coulson of Puerto Rico, silver in the World Championships last year, bronze this time at the Olympic Games.
Chris Akabusi, your thoughts on Di Green's run?
I think that Di went out too quick, and I don't normally say that. I would love to see his split times. He went hell for the first hurdle. I reckon he went under 5.9 to that first hurdle. And I don't think he needed to do that. I think Di really needed to focus on that second bend and kick off that second bend. I mean, the other two guys, I mean, Coulson and Angelo Taylor, went hell for leather, and they killed each other. They killed each other, and Sanchez wasn't involved in any of that nonsense and came home and is running 47.6. Great weight. I mean, Di, you know, unlucky fella. Come back for another day.
But there's not another London 2012 when you're the skipper, is there? That's the point, Chris, isn't it?
No, I understand that, and he will be unhappy with himself, because he will know that he could have gotten amongst the medals.
He's just peeling himself off the track now, and everybody applauds, and Di Green has the wherewithal to applaud back and to acknowledge their support. We can smell his disappointment from here.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be. I mean, Di knows. I mean, he's run 47.84 this year. He knows that, you know, he can replicate that sort of time, and you know, when you've got it inside of you, you want to be able to do it on this sort of night.
Do you think the injury is setting back though? Because I just feel that having had a little bit of surgery, he missed that endurance pace. It's fantastic to come and match the time that he ran in the semi-finals, because I think maybe the time that of 47 that he ran was a one-off race, very much different than having to come and do the rounds. And I think in that semi-final they really shocked him with how quickly they ran that semi-final.
Yeah, I'll tell you what Darren, and where you've got a point there is last year he won the World Championships with the time that he ran today, and so, you know, that's a big statement right there. So, you know,
But also, Chris, 8 years ago, Sanchez ran exactly that time to win the Olympic Games. What's that guy done right?
Well, he's not been involved in anything, hasn't he? None in the build-up. He's a guy. He's coming quietly, like a stealth bomber. He's coming quietly. He's done his own stuff. He knew where he was. The rest of the world didn't know where he was.
And he's got experience.
Yeah,
he's won it before.
And Coulson and Taylor got messed up because they were in a race of their own. They were gunning from gun to tape. You can't be a gun to tape merchant. I think Di got caught up in that little bit of gun to tape merchantry. You can't do that.
Interesting, because I said to you just before we started, who do you fancy? You said Javier Coulson, who's been on such good form on the circuit. It's a massive opportunity missed for him as well, for him to seal the deal at the top level.
Without a shadow of a doubt, Coulson lost last year in the World Championships. He's lost again in the Olympic Games. He's going to have to have a good hard look at himself, because he was the number one guy going into this. He's won every race he's been in that's really mattered, but come the big one, he didn't deliver.
And you've come across athletes like that before, haven't you? They might be great in Rome or in Crystal Palace or in Monaco, but the global title here in the World Championship, you just think they actually haven't quite got it. They haven't quite got it.
I think to myself, I've always prided myself with Di Green, because he's a championship performer, and I know that every time it's come to the big one, he's delivered. Certainly in my day, when it mattered, I delivered to the big ones. I wasn't great on the circuit. It just didn't tickle my fancy. I don't know what else to say about that. I'm a little bit of a shock, because I did think he was going to medal. I didn't think that I could run 47.5, 47.6, but I did think he could run 47.7, 47.8. It hasn't happened, and maybe, as Darren said, the injuries caught up with him and he hasn't been able to deliver. But he can come back. He's never going to be London again, but he can come back somewhere else.
Well, the interesting thing about that is, Darren, it just shows that there is so much that goes into winning a gold medal. It's not just what you do on the night. You have to have all the preparation right. You've got to go to the start line fit. It just shows once again what a phenomenal job Jess Ennis did.
Yeah, and let's make it clear, we're not talking any old gold medal, we're talking an Olympic gold medal. We've said this over and over again, they're not giving out. You have to win them, and that means on the day you have to put everything together, because the rest of the field are coming here to win. It's that simple. And when you stand on that line and you know what the prize is at the end of it, the person who can run their race 9 times out of 10 ends up Olympic champion.
When I came to this games, I knew we had 6 chances of gold medal. didn't have Greg Rutherford in there. No. I did have Di in there.
So they've cancelled each other out in your little chart, haven't they?
Absolutely right. And I thought that we'd get 25 or 50% of them. We've got 3 goals already, and there's always going to be a couple of people who step up and deliver, and some that don't. And there's all sorts of different reasons why people at that moment in time don't deliver. And so, unlucky for Di, but great on that Saturday, with Greg and with Mo and with Jessica. They have delivered. Let's see what happens with Robbie Grabarts. Let's see what happens with Mo in the 5,000. Can those guys deliver? Unlucky Di.
And it's so unusual to watch a Di Green race and to know after 200 metres he isn't going to win. Do you know what I mean? And we've seen it both in the semi-final and the final. You think, well, he cannot win from here. He might get a medal.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, at 200 I wasn't worried. It was when we got to 300 that I knew it was going to happen. Once we got to 300, off hurdle late, he was too detached. And at that detachment, no matter, you're not going to come through world-class guys from 4 metres down.
Does he need to work on his speed? Because let's be fair, he seems like he can only run it one way, and the guys that he's up against, their flat speed is much more superior than his.
Yeah, that's a very good point, Darren. I don't think Di can go on the 45.5 at this moment in time. If you can't go on the 45.5, you ain't going to go on the 47.5. I also think there's a challenge as well with his stride pattern. He does 14s to 6 or 7. You know what? You ain't going to go on the 47.5 if you can't get a couple of 13s in. You need to be at 13 to 3 to 4, change down to do 14s.
So you're saying he needs to get quicker, therefore take fewer strides in the early hurdles.
Yeah, I'm looking at developing a little bit more elastic strength, bounding, plyometrics. I'm looking at definitely developing a little bit more speed. You've got to be able to comfortably run 45.2, 45.3 if you want to be a world-class 400 metre runner. He is the world champion, so far be it for me to lecture the world champion. He is a world champion, but I'm talking getting sub 47.5. I had speed to burn. I could run 44.9, so I knew, looking at a Di, I'm not worried about your strength, because I can run a second slower down in the first 200 and still come back and match your strength in the back in the last 200 metres. And that's what some of these guys are thinking when they look at Di Green.
And interesting, you were saying you felt that Felix Sanchez in lane 8?
7.
Actually, he was in lane 7. Was out of Coulson and was out of Di Green. Here is Di Green. Let's just break off with Phil Jones.
A real sense of shock, I think, Di. Not the 1-2 we expected, and you gave it a great effort. What's your reaction to that race and the outcome?
I just felt a bit tired tonight. Obviously, a couple of days ago was a big shock in the semi-final. Surprised everyone went that fast. I gave it everything I had tonight. Bit better structure to my race, but just a bit too tight at the end there, and narrowly missed out, really.
Do you think that what happened to you early on in the year, the injury problems you had, the knee problem, has in any way affected your build-up and what's happened to you?
Well, it certainly affected my build-up. It meant I couldn't start until halfway through January instead of October time, but I can't argue too much around a personal best a few weeks ago. I just think perhaps the endurance wasn't quite there for the rounds, which shows that I probably missed out on a bit of the winter work. And you can't always tell if it's there or not until you get into these majors. I just found it a bit wanting a bit at the end there, but I couldn't have given anything else tonight.
How surprised you by what Felix Sanchez was able to do? So everyone was looking at you against Javier Coulson as the likely gold medal decider.
Yeah, I know coming in that me and Coulson were way ahead in the rankings, but I've never been in a competition or a race before where people have gone far above their expectation until Saturday night, when everyone seemed to surprise me. It sort of happened slightly again tonight with a few of the guys really pulling something out, but they're great competitors, can't take anything away from them. They've worked very hard. Felix is a fantastic athlete and worthy winners in the day.
Well, thanks for talking to me.
Cheers, thanks.
Well, maybe exactly as Darren and Chris were saying there, that knee injury meant he couldn't quite do the endurance work over the New Year period that maybe he wanted to and could have made a difference. Just what I was saying was with Green and Coulson, Taylor, you were saying maybe they were sort of caught in the maelstrom and Sanchez could do his own thing on an outer lane and worry about himself and went and won the gold medal.
Absolutely right. I mean, I truly believe that Coulson and Taylor messed themselves up. They were going gun to tape and trying to burn each other out, not thinking about anybody else. Then Green was on the back end of that tail stream, sort of like thinking, oh my gosh, these guys are running away, and so he started chipping down the back straight as well. Sanchez, he didn't see any of that, and in fact he got to hurdle 8, didn't see anybody, and all of a sudden he's flowing. He's now thinking, I just got to flow over the tape, over the hurdle 9, hurdle 10, and by hurdle 10 I think Sanchez knew he was going to win the race.
Definitely agree, and it's what we said earlier. In Olympic final, you have to run your race. You can't run anybody else's race, because everybody emotionally goes into the race differently. Some people get caught up in the emotion, and some people concentrate on what they have to do. And in the end, it was the athlete that concentrated on what they do that won the race.
And I tell you who's not got it for me is Coulson. He's not hungry. He hasn't got. He's a beautiful 400 hurdler. He looks majestic, and he has done all year on the circuit. But he comes to a championship and he doesn't look fired up for me. He doesn't attack that final hurdle. I
don't think he understands the event. He really tries to take out all the competition in that first 5-6 hurdles, and it's a 400-metre hurdle race, not a 200-metre hurdle race. And you have got to make sure that over that last 100, because you're going to hurt. The monkey's going to be on your back. You're going to crash the fridge, and yet you've got to have some rhythm and feel the music over those last 2 hurdles. And I don't think he feels it. And you saw him there a little bit Bambi-like, struggling to climb over hurdle 10, and he was gone. He was over and done with. Now, you cannot abuse the 400-metre hurdles. It's a race that will find you out if you go gun to tape, you go too much too soon. Whereas Sanchez, you can see he was majestic. He'd saved a little bit over hurdle 8, 9 and 10, which Di Green normally does. And I think for Di, the challenge was he didn't have what it takes to do the drop kick from hurdle 6 and 7 to put him in position to be in the dance the last 2 hurdles.
Lovely. We understand that. You've got to respect it.
You've got to respect the event.
You've got to respect the 400 hurdles. Terrific, Chris. Thank you very much for outlining that so eloquently and beautifully. Steve Backley, what's happening with the pole vault? We lost Holly Bleasdale earlier. What's going on?
Well, it's at the business end now. Only 4 athletes remain. The bar's at 4 metres and 75, and we've just seen Jennifer Suhr of the United States knock it off at her first attempt. So, Jelena Isinbayeva yet to jump at this height. The twice Olympic, twice world champion. Looks in good shape, actually. Question marks over her form. She's been fairly erratic. Her physical shape is just incredible. She's an absolute, spectacle. As my little 6-year-old said to me the other day, looking at the athletes on the telly, Daddy, why have those girls got lines on their tummy? I said, they're muscles, darling. We don't have those in our house.
No.
She said, where's yours?
Yeah, where's mine? I put my T-shirt back on.
You said I gave mine up for New Year.
Yeah, used to have those, darling. Yeah, I'll show some pictures.
Let's hear from Holly Bleasdale after her Olympic debut. Here she is with Sonia McLaughlin.
Oh, Holly, what a roller coaster. I can only begin to guess at your emotions right now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really disappointed with my performance today, but on the positives, you know, to come top 8 in my first Olympic final, it's pretty good. But right now, I'm really, really gutted and heartbroken at my performance today. I mean, I felt like I could have done so much better, and I just didn't handle the win very well.
And was that the key thing you think that was just going wrong out there? Because you didn't look comfortable, you looked flustered. It was just very windy, was it?
Yeah, it was a massive headwind, and I wish the bed could have been turned the other way around, but it couldn't be. But yeah, it was a really big headwind, and I mean, all the other girls had it out there, but I kind of it's just one of those competitions where I tick off and say I've been in this, I've been able to, you know, be with the win now, so I can only improve on it next time. But I am quite happy with coming top 8, but I could have done a lot better.
At 4:45, the opening height, you got over it at your third attempt. At that point, did you think, OK, I've found some rhythm now, I'm getting to grips with this Olympic final?
Yeah, I mean, when I cleared 4:45, I felt amazing, and the crowd really spurred me on to get over that. But the wind just kept getting stronger, and towards the end of the competition it started to taper off a bit, so unfortunately it wasn't a little bit later, but I'm really happy and privileged to be able to compete in front of a crowd like this, so I'm just amazed at how welcoming and how happy they were that even though I underperformed.
You're only 20, I think you're 3 years younger than most of the other finalists here, and inevitably your time will come, but bearing in mind what you've been doing this season and so far in your career, do you feel this is a missed opportunity?
A little bit. I mean, I am obviously really young, but I've jumped the heights which would be able to get a medal at this competition, but I think really I'm just lacking experience. I've only had maybe a year of doing top class, but up against top class girls, and they just have so much more experience out there that when they come to a competition like that, they know what to expect, and I don't. So it's something I can learn from, and hopefully, you know, when it comes to Rio, I'll be at the top of my game then.
I don't doubt it. Hard lines, Holly.
Thank you.
That's Sonia McLaughlin with Holly Bleasdale. Just a brief, quick one more on Holly. You felt that...
Yeah, somebody just sent me a tweet, and it's a point that you were raising, Steve, when you were talking. Every time she went to attempt a jump, she was looking to the side, and this person's asked me if potentially she was overcoached, which then meant she never really committed to any of the attempts. What do you think?
That would be harsh. I think, you know, at 20 years of age, she came into this competition. I actually, on reflection with Holly Bleasdale, as I look down the list of the competitors, equal 6th was her final result. It was tough, you know. Her coaches are an integral part of a pole vaulter's run-up routine. The wind, they kind of tell them when to go and all that. So it's kind of part of the culture.
But don't you need to feel it?
Absolutely. It's kind of they all do it though. So she, you know, it's one of those things that maybe she's just got to get comfortable with. But on reflection, equal 6 in an Olympic final at 20 years of age. I think, you know, I was maybe a little bit harsh earlier in saying she'll be disappointed. She will be immediately disappointed because of the height that she cleared. But I think on reflection, equal 6th in an Olympic final, 20 years old, hats off.
And as she said to Sonia, Rio 4 years from now, she'll be gunning for that. It's 5 Live with Mark Pugac and the team in the Olympic Stadium. It's 9:04.
This is the Olympic Station.
An Olympic dream is realised.
London 2012.
On 5 Live.
And 8 years on, Felix Sanchez reclaims the Olympic 400 metres hurdles title.
In towards the home straight. Di Green now is coming through to try to make a challenge as Felix Sanchez now kicks on. Felix Sanchez wins in 47.64 seconds at 34 years of age.
Di Green finishes 4th. Perry Shakes Drayton scrapes into the final of the women's 400 hurdles finals after a Czech athlete is disqualified. Holly Bleasdale went out in the early stages of the pole vault. Coming up, the final of the men's 400 metres, and Anthony Ogogo fights for a medal in the middleweight boxing. And in the women's hockey, Holland beat Great Britain 2-1 to top the group. GB finished 2nd. They'll play either Australia or Argentina in the semi-finals.
Remember, you can catch every Olympic moment right here on 5 Live, and also over on our new digital radio station, 5 Live Olympics Extra. And if you miss it, catch up later on the BBC Sport website. This is the Olympic Station.
BBC Radio 5 Live.
I'm Faye Roscoe with the BBC 5 Live News. Team GB has added 2 more golds and a bronze to its medal tally. Britain's show jumpers came first in the team event, their most successful performance since 1952, before Jason Kenny won the individual sprint in the cycling. Gymnast Beth Tweddle also won bronze earlier. The Chancellor George Osborne says it's time to move on from the issue of Lords reform and focus on the economy. He spoke after the Deputy Prime Minister Nick Clegg announced the government was abandoning plans to make the upper house mostly elected. Clegg's accused the Conservatives of breaking the coalition agreement over the issue. Syria's Prime Minister Riyad Hijab has defected to the opposition only 2 months after his appointment by President Assad. The White House says it's more proof that the Assad regime is crumbling. Authorities in the United States say they're investigating whether the gunman who killed 6 people at a Sikh temple in Wisconsin yesterday had white supremacist links. He's been named as 40-year-old Wage Michael Page, a former army soldier. And police have released a CCTV image of Tia Sharp, the 12-year-old girl who went missing in South London on Friday. It was taken on Thursday, the day before, but shows her wearing the same outfit. Earlier, her uncle appealed for her to come home.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
London 2012 with Mark Pougatch.
Men's 400-metre final to come still. The women's steeplechase in action. Mike Costello.
And they're heading around to the home straight where they will face a lap marker saying 6 to go, and they're led, as expected, by Yulia Zaripova of Russia. She led from gun to tape to win the World Championship gold medal last year in Daegu. She's followed through by 2 Kenyans, Milka Chewa and Mercy Njoroge. Their compatriots Ezekiel Kemboi and Abel Mutai featured in the 3 medal positions last night. They've gone through now with 6 laps to go. This is the final that Barbara Parker and Eilish McColgan of Britain failed to qualify for, and it's Zaripova of Russia leading with now still just under 6 laps to go, Mark.
Well, look, Great Britain's women's hockey team lost their final pool match this evening. They were beaten 2-1 by the Dutch. But the good news, Alistair Eakin, they had already qualified before that for the semi-finals.
Yeah, that's right, because the Japanese did them a favour earlier on this afternoon by beating China, a surprise result, 1-0 to Japan, and that put paid to any hopes that the Chinese had of making the semis, and it put Great Britain through. Fortunately for them, absolutely, because the way things turned out tonight, GB through in second place in Pool A, and they will play the winners of Pool B. That'll be decided shortly, either Argentina or Australia. Tonight, well, they played okay in the first half, Great Britain. They took a lead after about half an hour thanks to a penalty corner from Krista Cullen. They were then hit by 2 goals in the second half from the Dutch, but they were strangely muted, Mark. They allowed the Dutch to run at them a lot. They offered very little in attack. A bit of a concern, particularly when there was nothing to lose. They could have lost 10-0 tonight and it wouldn't have mattered, and they don't seem to be improving here. In fact, rather the reverse. You could argue they're pretty lucky to be in the semi-finals, having lost 2 pool matches. They've lost their last 2, and the head coach Danny Carey was not impressed by what he'd seen tonight.
Being straight, Alice, I'm pretty angry. We threw away a lead. It was a stupid piece of play. We were subbing people off on an outlet and turned the ball over, and it cost us a goal. And that kind of stuff we've talked about so hard and so many times, and I think the players will be bitterly disappointed they've been that stupid to throw away that lead. And I also think we're very passive in the second half, and again, it's something we've talked about, and we've trained hard, and yet in the moment when it mattered most we didn't do it. So our standards are higher than that, and we shouldn't be accepting of that kind of performance. The semi-final is nice to have, but in the immediate motion after the game, I'm pretty disappointed with the level of that performance.
How concerned are you therefore moving forwards, given that you've said what you've just said, and you're into a semi having lost 2 matches already?
Yeah, I mean, we had a terrific start to the tournament. We played some really good hockey. We were leading the table in terms of goals scored, less goals conceded, so we played well and deserved our place in the semi. I think actually I've just been very frank with the girls after the game. There's no point in hiding from it. It's better out than in. And I think that sort of honesty helps you. If you just sit there and say, oh, well done, never mind, next game, that's not going to get you in the right place for a semi-final. So I think we'll come good. I think some true words need to be spoken, and I think that will help us for the semi.
Do you think they've absorbed the message? What's your initial reaction to their reaction to what you had to say?
I think they know they were passive. I think they're disappointed in that. I think the main point is it's out there and they know it, and we expect more, and I hope we're much more proactive in the semi-final.
That's Danny Carey, the head coach of the hockey team. Back date on the pole vault.
We've just got 4 athletes left in this competition. 2 have gone clear. Jennifer Sura of United States and Yaroslav Silva of Cuba. And it leaves the mighty Elena Isinbayeva, twice champion, under a bit of pressure. She's had 1 failure at this height, as has Silke Spiegelberg of Germany. Isinbayeva, of course, fantastic under pressure. And the medals yet to be decided. 4 still remain.
Thank you very much indeed, Steve. Let's get the conclusion then of this women's 3,000 metres steeplechase, Mike.
Yes, and a group of 7 athletes have broken away from an original field of 15 now, and they've separated themselves from the rest by about 4 or 5 metres, and they are being led, as they have been, from the gun by Yulia Zaripova, the reigning world champion from Russia, as they head down the back straight now and over the barrier right at the entrance to that far side of the track. She's followed through in second place by Ayalu of Ethiopia, then Asefa of Ethiopia, who was so unlucky in taking 6th place in the World Championships last year. That after a heavy fall. They in turn then are followed through by Milka Chewa of Kenya, who's just starting to drop back slightly, as Diro of Ethiopia makes it an Ethiopian trio in the front 5. Zaripova is leading as they head round towards the water jump and in towards the home straight, with the lap marker showing 2 to go, and Zaripova just now gradually starting to increase the pace. Alison Kirbishley.
Yeah, this is exactly what the Russian Zaripova did 4 years ago, and she will be looking to dominate from the front. She went off at a fairly decent pace. We haven't seen her at all on the circuit this year, so it was really difficult to know what sort of form she'd be in, and it is so difficult to lead gun to tape in this event. But she is now joined by that trio, that young trio of Ethiopians who've impressed so much on the circuit, have been a real battle for Chemos and the Kenyans. It's not the same as in the men's, where you have Kenyan domination. Galkina, that's a real sad sign. We've got the defending Olympic champion Galkina from Russia is now walking off the track, just too much for her. And the battle is on now down the back straight. You've got Chewa, Ayalu, Diro, Asefa, and now all crowding the long-time leader literally from the gun. Will she be able to hang on as she did in the World Championships?
A lap and a half to go then. Zaripova is still there, being challenged once again by Ayalu in second place. Then it's Chemos of Kenya through into third place, and she's being nudged away on towards the outside by Gribi of Tunisia, who was very impressive in winning at the Paris Diamond League meeting in the last steeplechase of the Diamond League season, and she's now dancing around from the outside to the inside to give herself racing room and the position to make a challenge in the closing stages. Zaripova leads then from Ayalu and Asefa of Ethiopia, and then Chewa of Kenya is through in 5th place, and just in front of her is Gribi of Tunisia. Any one of 5 could take a medal here.
Well, the world leader is Chemos coming into this, and Chemos Chewa is really going to struggle to get on the podium this year. She was 3rd at the World Championships last year when everyone thought she could win. This doesn't look like it's going to be her Olympics. But look at the Russian. Zaripova leads down the back straight.
250 metres to run, and now Zaripova is being taken on by Habiba Gribi, the winner then in Paris a couple of months ago, and looking to repeat that form here. But suddenly Zaripova quickens again from the front, gradually winding up the pace, gradually inflicting more pain on her rivals now as she heads towards the water jump for the final time. Zaripova from Gribi. Asefa now comes through from Ethiopia to make her challenge, but it's a forlorn one, because as they come in towards the home straight, Zaripova has quickened yet again off an already quick pace, and she's put 10-15 metres between herself and the rest. The world champion is about to be crowned the Olympic champion. Zaripova takes the gold medal from Gribi in second place, and Asefa of Ethiopia just hangs on to take the bronze. 9 minutes 6.73 seconds is the winning time for the new Olympic champion and already world champion Yulia Zaripova of Russia, and that is her fastest ever time on the highest stage of her career.
And what an impressive way to win, to lead from gun to tape in a championship with so much pressure on her. She's the reigning world champion. She came out and did exactly what she did in Daegu last year. She thought, I'm not going to mix it at the back, I'm not going to hang around, I'm going to take this pace out, and I'm going to show these Africans who can win back-to-back world global titles. That is very impressive. Zaripova takes it for Russia, 9-6 with Gariba surprising the Ethiopians and the Kenyans, and Chemos Chewa outside the medals this year in that agonising 4th position.
So there we are, we have the 400 metres to come, the final for men, and that is in about 15 minutes time. We're going to go to Old Trafford now. We know that when it comes to women's football, Japan are in the final. The other semi-final between Canada and the USA, Ian Dennis, is an excellent match.
It's a cracking game, Mark, and Canada lead the United States by 3-2. They're on the attack yet again. And just watch this attack on that far side. Canada took the lead midway through the first half through their captain, Christine Sinclair. It was a well-worked goal. It was a composed finish. The United States then levelled early in the second half with Rapinoe scoring direct from a corner on the left, right-footed, inside the near post. Then John Herdman, the Geordie, the Newcastle fan, made a change because Sinclair was being sucked into midfield. He pushed her up front, and within 60 seconds she scored with a header, but that lead didn't last for long. Rapinoe with a sweet right-footed strike in off the left-hand post. That was after 71 minutes. 2 minutes later, Sinclair scored with a header from another corner, only the third player in the history of women's Olympic football to have scored a hat-trick in the games, and the Olympic champions, the United States, are behind, and we have 14 minutes remaining, and Canada lead the United States by 3-2.
Thank you very much, Ian. Zaripova, having won that women's steeplechase, going on her lap of honour, kissing the track. It means so much to her here at London 2012, as does all the boxing for the Team GB boxers. And Darren Fletcher's going to see 2 of them in quarter-final action this evening, starting with Anthony Ogogo.
Yeah, 2 really big fights tonight here at Excel, Mark, and we need to lift the GB team after a mixed bag of results this afternoon, with Natasha Jonas and Savannah Marshall both being eliminated from the women's competition. Anthony Ogogo in the ring in about 10 minutes time against Stefan Hartel from Germany at middleweight, and then Anthony Joshua, the big super heavyweight from Finchley, brings the evening's boxing to a close at about 11:25 against Zhilel Jiang, the giant from China, 6'7", and he packs a punch in the process. Steve Bunce alongside me. You've been quite impressed by Stefan Hartel. This represents a tough night for Ogogo.
Yeah, he's a guy that's been on the European circuit, he's been on the world circuit, he has regularly performed above and beyond anywhere that Ogogo has been. Bear in mind, Ogogo's coming off of a victory against the current world champion and the world #1. These Olympics turn up funny and odd things, Fletcher.
It's interesting, Lennox, isn't it? Because Anthony Ogogo's been through the full range of emotions. His mother's seriously ill, his sister's just had a baby. He's beaten the world #1. He's got to lift himself again tonight and give a big performance, but I just wonder where his mind might be at this stage.
Well, you know, in this situation, he's got to keep focus. He's got to really move around because he's got a lot of time between fights. So he has to keep his mind clear and make sure there's nothing that takes his concentration off of the job that he has to do. And really go in there and do the job, because this is where the tough get going. And he's halfway there, and all he has to do is beat his next opponent coming up, and it's not an easy fight for him.
James DeGale, who won the gold medal in Beijing at middleweight, is here watching Anthony Ogogo tonight. Then it's Anthony Joshua, the big 6'6" super heavyweight from Finchley, up against a man even bigger than him, Zhang from China, who's 29 years old. He's 6'7", the silver medalist from Beijing 4 years ago in the super heavyweight division. And this one, Buncey, should be a cracker.
Yeah, this is a tough one for Joshua, and he was talking about it the other day. He was acknowledging, he was admitting how difficult it is. Not only is Zhang tall, I think he's a couple of inches taller than 6'7". I think they've fibbed on there. In fact, I think they've lied for it. I think he's about 6'9", as does Joshua, and he's got a fantastic left hook. And for a big, tall guy, he actually fights like a guy who's a lot shorter and a lot smaller.
There's a penalty at Old Trafford in that cracking game that Ian Dennis was describing to us.
Darren, it's a penalty to the Olympic champions, the United States. Abby Wambach, who's scored 4 in 4. Can she make it a 100% record in the Olympic Games to haul the United States level? Rapinoe with a free kick from inside the penalty area. No, the left back was penalised as she turned her back on that shot that was fired into her. Canada protested. Wambach waits. She has been overtaken in the all-time scoring list by Christine Sinclair's hat-trick, but Abby Wambach, with 142 goals in her career for the United States, waits up against McLeod. It's been a thrilling contest. Wambach with a short run up in front of the Stretford end, scores. The goalkeeper dived the right way. She rolled it into the bottom left-hand corner, and for the third time of asking, the Olympic champions, the United States, have levelled. Canada 3, the United States 3.
Sounds an absolute cracker, doesn't it? Commentary continues over on Olympics Extra. Let's get back to the boxing here, Lennox. What are you hoping for from Anthony Joshua tonight? If he wins, he's at least guaranteed a bronze medal.
Absolutely. He has to really go in there and stay poised and realize that the guy in front of him is dangerous, so he has to keep his defense intact. And, you know, I see the fact that he's going against a southpaw. This is a pretty big guy, and against southpaws, the right hand's going to do well, and he throws a great right hand. All he has to do is mix up his jab a little bit and throw in that left hook. Every combination he throws has to end with that left hook, and make sure he stays far from this guy because he's big.
And how big a factor might experience be tonight? The fact that the Chinese fighter has been there and done it, has had so many bouts, he's boxed in the Olympics before, and Anthony Joshua at this level is relatively inexperienced. Is there a fear that the occasion might get to him?
Well, this is not the reason to get scared of anything. He has to really go in there and have in his mind a game plan, what he wants to do, and that's stick that jab out, and throw that right hand repeatedly, and definitely come back with a left hook. But try not to get tied up with him. Try not to get hit by him, and just do what he does naturally, and that's box.
Punchy, there's no doubt about this. After the eliminations this afternoon for Natasha Jonas and Savannah Marshall, the GB team needs a big night from Anthony Ogogo and Anthony Joshua.
It does need a big night, and I think they're both up against it. We were disappointed with Savannah. We thought we had a definite semi-finalist, stroke finalist with her. Nicola Adams has done the business down to these two here tonight. And I tell you what, this is the night when the crowd will be a factor. This is the night when the crowd can change things. We know Joshua, with his limited experience, maybe less than 15 international contests, we know he can do it. He beat Roberto Camarelli, the Olympic champion and the world champion, when they were out in Baku at the World Championships. We know he can beat these type of guys. The problem is, the real problem, Lennox, for him, is he can't let himself fall over, because this big towering Chinese guy will clip him and counter all night long.
Well, the main thing about that, he just has to keep his defense intact, keep that jab going, and make sure that he hits this guy, because if he hits this guy, he can hurt this guy. I know this guy's cagey, has a lot of experience, but he has to watch out for that. He has to stay with the game plan that him and his coaches have in their mind.
I'm told he's not got the best chin, the big Chinese fighter, which might be a factor with the explosive punching power that we know Anthony Joshua's got. And he came over to our commentary position, didn't he, a couple of nights ago, Bunsey, and he was relatively relaxed. He looks in the right frame of mind.
He knew that in the first fight he'd got too involved, okay? He knew that. And he said, he gave me his word, he grabbed my arm, he said, I will not lose my mind in that fight.
And Mark, we keep telling you how noisy it is at Excel. I can back it up with facts. This afternoon, Katie Taylor against Natasha Jonas was measured at 113.8 decibels here at Excel. A jet plane takes off at 110 decibels, and we're expecting that kind of noise for Ogogo and Joshua later.
Well, you need those airline paddles, don't you, as well as the big headphones.
We actually need earplugs, if we're honest.
Yeah, you do. We're going to be back for you. We are going to have that on 5 Live. Thank you very much indeed. Look, we are having the Dominican national anthem in the background. We've seen a lot of British athletes, and let's be honest, parents and spectators and some of the media in tears this Olympics. I'm not sure anybody's cried like Felix Sanchez has after his win in the 400 hurdles, and after he had won, he whipped a picture of his family out from inside his running vest, I think it was. He's just about composed himself now. Oh no, he's going again. Felix Sanchez, he really is absolutely sobbing.
He is an emotional guy, I have to say, and
I'm feeling a little bit guilty here that there's something more than that. I hope something hasn't happened personally in his family life.
What I did notice when he crossed the line, he had a photograph. I don't know where he pulled it from, but he had a photograph. He was on his knees, and I don't know if it was for his kids. I'm really not sure, but he did have a photograph. So I think there's something.
I think there's something more than that than just the emotion of winning an Olympic title, don't you? Because he wept when he stood on the podium. He wept at the beginning of the national anthem. He held it together. He completely disintegrated at the end, and now he's receiving the applause of everybody. Well, he's Olympic champion for the second time. He didn't win in Beijing, but he won in Athens. So Felix Sanchez, fabulous run as he takes the congratulations of those who came second and third. Right, men's 400 metres final to come after the news with Faye Rusco.
Online at bbc.co.uk/5live.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
Jason Kenny has won Team GB's 18th gold medal in the men's sprint. Earlier, Great Britain also took gold in the team show jumping event at Greenwich, and Beth Tweddle got the bronze on the uneven bars. Nick Clegg accused the Conservatives of breaking the coalition agreement. He was speaking after being forced to drop plans for reforming the House of Lords. David Cameron told the Deputy Prime Minister that not enough Tory MPs would vote for it. The Syrian Assad regime has suffered its most high-profile defections so far, with the Prime Minister declaring his support for the opposition and reportedly fleeing to Jordan. Earlier, a bomb exploded in the Damascus headquarters of Syria's state television service. The uncle of the missing 12-year-old girl, Tia Sharp, has appealed for her to come home. Tia was last seen leaving her grandmother's home in New Addington in South London on Friday. And people in Corby are facing a by-election in November after the Conservative MP Louise Mensch announced she was stepping down after 2 years in Parliament. She'll move to New York, where her family is based. Quick look at the roads in West Yorkshire. One lane of the M62 westbound is closed because of a broken down vehicle between junction 28 at Tingley and junction 27 at Gilderson. In Lancashire, one lane of the M65 eastbound is shut between junction 4 at Darwin and junction 5 at Guide. There's been an accident there but no reported delays. In Withensea in Yorkshire, Queen Street is closed between Seaside Road and Hompton Road. A gas leak has closed a large section of the road. Traffic there is slow. It's not expected to reopen until at least 10 o'clock. And the A12 Lowestoft Road in Galston-on-Sea in Norfolk is completely shut between Links Road and Hopton Manor roundabout. There's been an accident there. A diversion is in operation via Hopton. Expect delays. Faye Rusco, 5 Live Travel.
5 Live. Every story.
We're going to a press conference now. It's outside Living MC. Here we go.
Libya's future begins. Gaddafi, a black era, has come to an end forever.
Every moment.
This is Sheila Fogarty on 5 Live with the first ever live programme to be broadcast from the House of Lords.
Here Scott is coming 15.4 through the... It's the bronze medal. Listen to this arena. The roof is coming off.
Well, unless you've had a telegram from the Queen, you've never lived through a team medal for the men's GB team in the gymnastics.
And still to come, the London Paralympic Games, plus the Premier League returns on August 18th. Don't miss a thing.
BBC Radio 5 Live.
Right, before we have the men's 400-metre final, Holly Bleasdale out of the pole vault, but Yelena Isinbayeva still in the mix, Steve Backley.
And she's going to have to draw on the 15 world records, the experience she gained in this last attempt, do or die for the Russian. Drives high, but she knocks the bar off. That's her out of the competition. Amazing. The double Olympic champion, Yelena Isinbayeva, confirmed as a bronze medalist here in London. Appreciative wave to the crowd. Only 2 athletes remain. Yaroslav Silva of Cuba and Jennifer Suhr, the American, who's just looked fantastic all night. Both have failed at 4 metres 80. 2 more attempts.
So the men's 400 metres final then, and Kath Merry, we saw in Daegu last year a new world star born from Grenada in Kirani James.
Well, he did indeed, and it could be his night. He looks superb in the semi-finals, 44.59 seconds, easing off the big season's best for him. It's a wonderful opportunity for the 19-year-old, and this really is quite a youthful final as well as a wide-open one.
And Alison, there's no American there. And Michael Johnson tweeted earlier, first time except for the boycott in 1980, no American medalist since 1920.
I know, it's astounding. And it's not even no medalist, no American finalist since 1908. But I've done a bit of research, and when you look down it, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 men in this final who have either been born in America or hail from an American university. So the Americans can claim a little bit of them. And there is one in particular, Leland Gordon. And I was asking Atto Boldon, the great Trinidad and Tobago man, what about this young guy? And he knows nothing about him because he was born in the Bronx, he lives in New York, and all his running is done in America. But he's running for Trinidad and Tobago, so I guess the Americans could kind of claim him. And he did look very impressive in the semi-final. Along with Kirani James, he too won his semi-final in 44.58. It's going to be a very exciting...
I just hope Michael Johnson is cursing out the Americans like he used to curse out the 100-metre sprinters. I just hope so. Well, I hope so, or I'm going on TV now.
That sounds like a threat. There's Kirani James kissing the badge, quite literally. And we're ready, Mike Costello, for the 400 metres final.
One of the most outstanding young athletes anywhere on the planet, drawn in lane number 5 here. The full lineup is Jonathan Borlée of Belgium in lane number 2 towards the inside. Stephen Solomon of Australia is drawn in lane 3. Also, like Kirani James, just 19 years of age, won the Australian senior title last year at the age of 17 and then retained it this year at 18, and he's just turned 19 years of age now. Lalonde Gordon of Trinidad and Tobago is in lane 4, saw his compatriot, although no relation, Jehu Gordon, finish outside the medals in the men's 400 metres hurdles earlier, with Di Green in 4th place if you've just joined us. Kirani James of Grenada is in lane 5 then. Last year became the youngest ever world or Olympic champion over 400 metres, just a day after his 19th birthday. Chris Brown of the Bahamas is in lane 6. He was 4th, just outside the medals in Beijing 4 years ago, behind the American LaShawn Merritt, who pulled up in the semi-finals here injured, and that means there is no American athlete in the final for the first time since 1908, the nation that has won the last 7 gold medals in this discipline. Lugolin Santos of the Dominican Republic is in 7, Demetrius Pinder of the Bahamas in 8, and the other Borlée twin, Kevin, is on the outside for Belgium in lane 9. They're on their blocks for the men's 400 metres final at London 2012. Kirani James in lane number 5, attempting then to add the Olympic gold medal to the world title he won last year, and he has a hare to chase in the form of Chris Brown of the Bahamas, who's gone off fairly smartly as they head down the back straight. But now Kirani James gets that long loping stride into full flow and hits the halfway mark in a battle for the lead with Chris Brown. The other Bahamian, Demetrius Pinder, is also in contention as they hit the crown of the bend and reach the home straight. Lugolin Santos, the world junior champion, is making his battle now for senior honours, but none of them are a match here for the world champion. Kirani James is scorching clear. This is one of the great performances at London 2012 as Kirani James flies through the line in 43.94 seconds. He has taken 0.4 of a second off his season's best, off his lifetime best. A sensational performance by Kirani James of Grenada. The world champion is now the Olympic champion, and there won't be many better performances than that anywhere on the Olympic stages here in 2012.
This man's going to do some damage in this event. That is the 9th quickest ever in the world. And when you think the likes of Michael Johnson, Butch Reynolds and Jeremy Wariner, who has now passed the mantle on, he didn't even make the American team and is only here in the relay. Wow, Kirani James at the young age of 19 is now world and Olympic champion, and this guy is going to go quicker and quicker and quicker.
It was a wonderful race. He dominated from the gun. He is such a fluid runner. There's a slight lean to Kirani James's technique, and he flew down the back straight. Pinder of the Bahamas was having a real good run up with him until about 300 metres. But he was the name we were talking about before the final. He was the man to watch, and out of lane 5, Kirani James, at just 19 years old, now has the Olympic gold medal to add to his World Championship gold. What a wonderful, wonderful run for the athlete from Grenada.
Mike, I'm trying to work out how many Olympic titles he can win if he stays fit and motivated. 19? I mean, he's got... Well, you can... Obviously, the next one, the one after that, maybe age 30. I mean, it's ridiculous what he could do.
And I think it's important to measure as well how he keeps himself so strong during competitions. We've seen a number of failures here this evening. Di Green and Perry Shakes-Drayton, and we've spoken about how difficult it is to win the top prize at the Olympic Games. It seems even more difficult than at the World Championships. But here, yes, I realise that LaShawn Merritt wasn't here, the crack American who won the American trials and would have been defending his title. But let's put this into context. That's 0.2 quicker than LaShawn Merritt has run so far this season. This truly is a potential superstar of athletics.
And you know what I'd like to see? James versus Bolt.
Oh, I knew you were going to say that.
You like that though, don't you?
I don't think that's ever going to happen.
Yeah. No, but you like that because that is amazing. Look at the stride
beautiful,
left, the relaxation.
He's come on no end in the space of a year. He's much stronger. He's more in control of his body. Last year it was all over the place. There was a massive
photo finish.
I know there was a massive bidding war in America. to get him at colleges. So it's Florida State, Texas, and Alabama was the one that managed to attract him. That's where he's based, Alabama. And the people of Sunderland will be gutted because they hosted the Grenadian team prior to this games, and the one person who didn't turn up was Karani James. Quite funnily enough.
Yeah, I've thought, Darren, not because of the way, not because of his style or whatever, because that's your area of expertise, all you to my left. But as a punter watching that, all you can think of is 400 metres. That's what Michael Johnson did to them in Atlanta. Just destroyed the field.
Yeah, but Michael Johnson did it with a lot more power and tempo to it. Not that huge stride left, that lopiness that you sometimes see with the 800-metre runners. He does it so comfortably, and it's so difficult to generate the speed and the power that you need over the 400 metres.
Just to say that he has beaten Michael Johnson's time as the fastest ever 400 metres in this country, which was recorded at Crystal Palace in 1992. He's gone quicker.
Right, lots more to come on this. An astonishing performance from Kirani James. We're going boxing in a second. Ian Dennis, you've seen a terrific match at Old Trafford.
Absolutely exhilarating, and it's not over yet. We're at the end of 90 minutes. Canada 3, the United States 3. Christine Sinclair, the Canadian captain, has scored a hat-trick. The United States on 3 occasions have come back on every occasion. Both sides had chances to win it in the last 5 minutes. In Beijing 4 years ago, the United States beat Canada in a quarter-final 2-1 after extra time. We've got another additional 30 minutes to settle this second semi-final for the right to play Japan in Thursday's final after Japan beat France at Wembley earlier today by 2-1, and anything could happen in this extra time if the last 90 minutes are anything to go by. 3-3.
Thank you. Just hearing Perry Shake Straighten, Mike, is back out of the final. The appeal, actually from 2 athletes, has been successful. We've got to go to the boxing, but I want to tell everybody that we can reflect upon it when we come back from Steve Bunce and from Darren Fletcher at the XL.
And Lennox Lewis as well, as Anthony Ogogo in all red steps through the ropes at XL for one of the biggest nights of his life. If he wins this at middleweight, he's guaranteed at least a bronze medal, and he will fight in the last 4 of the competition. He's gone through the emotional heartache of having his mother seriously ill, the joy of his sister giving birth to a baby, and a startling performance against the world #1 Kitrov in his previous bout. But now it starts for real, Buncey.
It does start for real, and it doesn't matter what you do at the Olympics. Every single fight becomes a medal fight, a gold medal match, a final match. That's his Roy. Came through the Dominican Republic boxer. He beat the world #1 on a count back, but now he's up against it again.
Anthony Ogogo is 23 years old from Lowestoft. He once came 4th in Big Brother's Celebrity Hijack, and if he wins tonight, he's guaranteed to finish no lower than 4th. He'll get a bronze medal at least in the middleweight division. And Lennox Lewis, it's imperative that Anthony Ogogo starts well and really establishes himself against this strong German fighter.
Especially the first rounds really matter. I can't go out there and give him no respect. He has to start everything off with the jab and make sure that the guy doesn't hit him.
Well, he sometimes spars with the IBF super middleweight champion Carl Froch at the English Institute of Sport in Sheffield as Anthony Ogogo. Tonight he's up against the man who beat Ireland's Darren O'Neill in the last 16, Stefan Hartel of Germany. He's in the armed forces, and he looked very effective in his 2 bouts to start off this campaign in London. Ogogo in red, Hartel in blue. If anything, the German has the slightly longer reach advantage than Anthony Ogogo, and Ogogo starts off with a looping right hand that falls just short. Early stages here. The boxers keen to feel each other out and really establish their superiority early in the fight. The crowd stamping their feet inside XL. They'll do that later on for Anthony Joshua, the super heavyweight who's due in the ring at about 11:25. As Ogogo lands the first meaningful punch of the fight, and another one as well. 2 short chopping right hooks right onto the button, Steve Bunce.
They were good shots. He found the first one, then he found the second one. He's just showing his left hand. The German's just dropping his shoulder slightly, and then he's crashing over that right hand. Those were good punches, Fletch.
Ogogo extremely confident after beating Yevhen Kitrov on double count back, that controversial decision in the last 16, and he brings that confidence into the bout tonight. The German yet to really land anything meaningful. His punches falling short. Ogogo keen to dart in and let the punches go and then dance out to safety. Hartel certainly trying to throw the punches, but without too much success. But he does land a decent 2-punch combination there, a left and a right. But then Ogogo is able to plant his feet and fire a short combination of his own to redress the balance. Remember, 5 judges here at ringside. We will get the scores at the end of each round. 3 3-minute rounds in the middleweight division here at a very noisy XL Arena. Good work by Hartel. as he backs Agogo to the ropes. Agogo dances away. Both fighters stood in centre ring. Agogo lets the punches go and lands on the blue headguard of the German. Then lands a short left hook to the body, and then gets those gloves up high at the side of his head and lands a decent combination. He's been accurate. The hands look fast as well, Steve.
The hands look fast. I like his right hand, what sometimes people call his backhand. He keeps dropping it in. If Agogo gives him a space with that, he can hurt Anthony with that. He really can. At the moment, Agogo's got the pace and he's got the crowd on his side. You know, it's a furious place to box this, Fletch. It really is.
Hartel not really able to match Agogo for hand speed, but he's got that long reach and he's throwing some decent straight shots that are causing Agogo one or two problems for the first time in the fight. Just more than 40 seconds to go in round number 1. Anthony Agogo against Stefan Hartel, as Agogo stands in centre ring and looks straight in the eyes of the German. Throws a right hand that fell a little bit short, but lands with a decent left jab and then starts to let the punches flow and lands with 2 or 3 decent shots. Hartel, who's throwing more single shots than Agogo, who's firing the combinations, then falls short with his own punch. Agogo dancing back towards the ropes, lets the punches go again, 3 or 4, and then when he sees the punch coming back from Hartel, he can duck underneath it, get back to the ropes and get to safety out of harm's way. Final few seconds of the first round, which has been a good one from Anthony Agogo. He's been accurate, he's been fast, and he's been effective. And the scores tell us that Anthony Agogo has won the first round by a score of 5 points to 2, and he looks very, very confident, Lennox Lewis.
Not only confident, his punches are very sharp, they're accurate, they're actually getting between the gloves of the German, and he's doing a good job. But the only thing is, he needs to be a little bit first, he needs to throw a little bit more punches and get the German going backwards on his. Right now the German guy's really comfortable, he's coming forward, but he's not accurate, he's not hitting Agogo. Agogo's got his defense very tight, but he's doing well. He definitely won that first round.
I know Agogo beat the top seed, Steve, in the last 16, but that's as good a 3 minutes as I've seen from Anthony Agogo in this competition.
It was a solid, an absolute solid 180 seconds of pressure, but Lennox touched on something now. Even though the German lost the round, even though the German's trailing by 3, he looks extremely confident, and what's more, he looks extremely big and strong.
Doesn't he? I was just going to say exactly those words, big and strong. The German, Stefan Hartel. His dad was a boxer, he's dreamt of this moment, but he's up against the local hero, Anthony Agogo. Agogo lands a decent shot to start round number 2 with that 3-point cushion. Won the first round by 5 points to 2, and those short, sharp, accurate punches that Agogo is throwing from inside against Hartel are the ones that are causing the German problems. He's having to fight from range, and Agogo is proving elusive as he skips around the ring. Single shots are coming from the German, combinations are coming from Anthony Agogo, and they're the scoring exchanges that we're seeing so far. Now they fight close in. Hartel then pushes Agogo away because he wants the longer range, to use his longer reach, and he makes the reach pay with a couple of decent punches. Agogo unfazed by it, lands a jab of his own. Then Agogo sets his feet and stares down Hartel, falls short with a jab, then hits him with a left jab, and then another one. Then he tries to let the hands go, but Hartel was able to counter, and Anthony Agogo standing on the London 2012 emblem in the centre of this XL ring. Agogo in red, Hartel in blue, Anthony Joshua to come. You'll hear that during the Tony Livesey programme at about 25 past 11. Hartel landing some decent shots. Agogo slightly quieter, Steve, at the start of round 2.
He's slightly quieter, and I think that's sensible. He doesn't want to commit too much. He wants to make sure everything he throws works. What's working for him is the right hand, and he's throwing a short left, and for some reason it's catching the German, but he's not throwing it anywhere near enough. The German is bossing this round without dominating it.
Another full house at XL tonight with 2 Britons in the ring. 2 of the British women eliminated earlier today, Natasha Jonas and Savannah Marshall, but Nicola Adams sailed through. Tonight it's about the men, Anthony Agogo and Anthony Joshua. 90 seconds of the second round to go. A better round for the German, Stefan Hartel, who for the first time in the fight is able to allow his physical gifts and his physical advantages to come into play. The longer reach, and he's able to pick off Agogo from slightly longer range. In the first round, Agogo was inside that long reach and was firing quick combinations with the fast hands. This time he cuffs Hartel on the side of the head with a looping left, but he's made to pay by 3 or 4 punches from the German, who's settling into the task. We saw him do this against Darren O'Neill from Ireland in his previous fight, and he's fighting so much better in the second round of this fight, which has less than a minute to go in round number 2. That's a better combination from Agogo, but Hartel quickly back on him, throwing those punches, those long punches, and then he lets one go that flies over the head of Anthony Ogogo.
Ominously, Hartel is just sort of taking a bit of control, but he's not forcing it too much. He's prepared, Fletch, to land with that left, and he's looking still to land a clean right.
Good shot by Ogogo, which forced Hartel backwards. The German growing in confidence. Ogogo lands a combination. Couple to the head and one to the body. Hartel then chases him round the ring. He's a big, strong customer, the German. Thick set, big shoulders, taller than Ogogo. And he's got the physical ability to bully the lowest off fighter around the ring here at Excel. Into the final 10 seconds. Ogogo made to pay by a decent 1-2 from Hartel. Then the referee splits the pair of them, and they re-engage in centre ring in the final 7 seconds of the second round. The scoring of this second round is going to be really interesting. Ogogo led 5-2 after the first round, and he's 10-6 up after the second. Despite the good work from Stefan Hartel, Anthony Ogogo now has a 4-point lead, Lennox, with a round to go.
Very close fight. Ogogo didn't really get through with too many punches in that round, but his defense was really tight and he moved well. He didn't give up on all the ground, and he forced the German back a little bit, so he did well that round.
I think what must have impressed the judges from Ogogo's standpoint in that round, Steve, was that he didn't throw as many shots, but he's so accurate tonight.
Yeah, he is so accurate tonight. I get the idea he may be conserving things. I think perhaps, as we've said, the emotional roller coaster. First Olympics, 2 hard fights, world champion, mother in hospital, sister has a baby. Oh, Fletch, that would take it out of even the coldest man.
We saw him here, Lennox, 2 nights ago, and he looked as though he got the weight of the world on his shoulders, Anthony Ogogo. He looked shattered, for want of a better phrase, and he summoned up this performance tonight.
Yeah, well, sometimes when you have big problems on your head, you get great performances out of that, and it shows in history.
Anthony Ogogo is 3 minutes away from a guaranteed bronze medal here at Excel and a place in the last 4 at middleweight. Anthony Joshua will try and join him later. We'll bring you that fight during the Tony Livesey programme at about 11:25 against the giant Chinese boxer Zheng, who stands 6'9", and he packs a wallop as well. The big man from Finchley will have his work cut out in that bout. Ogogo gets to work in the third and final round. All he's got to do is coast to victory. Don't make a mistake. Keep your concentration. Don't allow Hartel to fire the big shots. And Ogogo has started well. Lands a couple of stinging punches onto the blue headguard of Hartel, and then ducks out of the way of the follow-up attack from the German. Then they clinch, and the German feels a sharp right hook into his rib cage, and then they separate in centre ring and go to work again. Hartel pokes out the jab. Tried to throw the long right hand, which falls short, not once but twice. Ogogo misses with a left hook, but catches him with a right hook on the way in. And the German, who needs to score big points in the final round, unable to really get the punches flowing.
It's almost like the German is confident he can pick up the points with a jab. You can't do that. I just want to point something out. When Ogogo qualified for these Olympics, he was trailing by 6 points in the last round of the qualifier and pulled those back to win. It can happen, Fletch.
It can, but Anthony Ogogo at the moment is controlling the third round. He's maintaining this 4-point cushion that he has, and in fact he's landing good shots, very good shots, a left and then a right. The right hand in particular really stung Stefan Hartel, but he's difficult to move, the big German. Stands in centre ring and stares down Ogogo, has got his back to his ropes on the far side. The two men get tangled up. Ogogo in the red vest, just warned by the referee for pushing Hartel's head down, and then Hartel misses with a long punch that he tries to land as the fight resumes. Ogogo on the ropes on the far side, happy to hang on. As every second ticks by, Anthony Ogogo gets nearer a place in the last 4 at middleweight. And there's not been anything really in the final round to suggest the judges are going to see this anything other than a comfortable final round for Anthony Ogogo. He's certainly not done enough at this stage, Bunsey, the German, to pull back the 4 points.
Nowhere near, and Ogogo's done enough to maintain that lead and maybe push on. Perhaps the German is looking at the last fight against Kwiatkowski. Perhaps he's thinking Ogogo's going to really fade in the last 40 seconds and he can grab those points back. That is risky poker in a boxing ring, Fletch.
Ogogo had to work so much harder against Kitrov than he has had to tonight. He's been able to control the pace in the main, apart from a couple of rocky moments in the second round. He's back to the ropes here, though, Ogogo, by a physical assault from Hartel, who lets the punches go. Ogogo fends him off and backs off, and then throws a long looping right hook that missed. Hartel now starts to let the punches go, and one of those might actually have hurt Ogogo a wee bit. Ogogo's on the ropes, just like he was at times against Kitrov. 30 seconds to go. Anthony Ogogo is almost there, but he's caught by a long looping right hook that wobbled his legs. Ogogo then digs one into the ribs of Stefan Hartel, and then throws a combination and grabs his head. These are not worrying moments for Anthony Ogogo. They're concerning turning moments at the end of the fight.
Yeah, the tiring moments. We saw the pattern in the Kvitov fight, and obviously so did Hartel and his team.
Agogo's mouth is agape, but he's got the ability to throw the punches, and he catches Hartel with a big left hook. Hartel didn't blink, just comes back with punches of his own. Final few seconds. Anthony Agogo is almost there. There's the final bell. Surely Anthony Agogo is through to the semi-finals. He's going to be guaranteed a bronze medal, and he gave another stirring display now at Lennox Lewis.
Oh, I think he pulled it out. He definitely pulled it out. He did a lot of smart things in the ring, such as when he threw his combinations, he smothered the German so the German couldn't come back with any punches. And then what he would do is throw the jab and then grab the German around the back of the head and pull him towards him and tie him up so the German couldn't throw any punches. But he definitely did enough to win, and he did a good job. He was pretty smart when he gets tired.
The last time we waited for an Anthony Agogo decision, it took a double count back and it took an age before we got the decision. This one should be relatively straightforward for the judges, Steve.
Yeah, I'd be shocked if we'd gone to count back here, and I thought that Agogo, without doubt, maintained that lead. He may actually, Fletch, have extended it. He did tire in the last 20 or 30 seconds, like we thought he would, but he did enough. He's fighting on heart, he's fighting on guts, and as Lennox pointed out, he's fighting on experience.
Sometimes you get a fighter destined to do well at an Olympic Games. When things aren't going well in your private life, you summon up the big performance in the ring, and I get the impression that might be what we're seeing here from Anthony Agogo. Here's the result.
15 points to 10 in the red corner.
Anthony Agogo is through. Listen to the cheer at Excel. He's through to the last four at middleweight. Now he can let the emotion go. He's guaranteed at least a bronze medal. How's that going to be feeling, Lennox Lewis?
Oh, he's got to be feeling good. He did a lot of work. You know, it's step by step. He's got through 2 fights now, and now's the next one.
Mark, there's something building here at Excel for Anthony Agogo. He's growing into the middleweight tournament. He's through to the last four, and he was very impressive here tonight.
Looking forward to Anthony Joshua with you, Darren, at 11:15. Listen to the noise. Anthony Agogo guaranteed, as Darren said, at least a bronze medal. Back to the boys for the super heavyweight clash with Anthony Joshua against the Chinese fighter Zhang at 11:15. A result in the basketball. Who are the US playing in the next stage, Chris Mitchell?
Well, in the semi-finals, they may well come across Brazil, because Brazil beat Spain 88-82. So somewhat of a surprise there in international basketball terms. But you might say that the Spanish side didn't play with full intensity in the last few minutes of the game. What about you, Fab? You watched it, you're a coach. Did Spain give it their all to win that game? They were ahead for long periods of it.
They played their all, but there was some different tactics down towards the end of the game. Different combinations that were put in by both teams, to be fair, and Spain's team towards the end. Also, at the end of the game, it wasn't played the way a game was normally played out. Normally, you have lots of stoppage of play. You try and foul to stop the clock to get into the game. You shoot the three-point shot. So none of those tactics were done in this basketball and that basketball game, which makes you think, then were they really trying to win the game? Because you would have done those tactics.
It certainly makes you think, and it makes you wonder, and I am getting a few nods and winks from a few Spanish journalists, but the Spaniards will say they tried and they failed to beat Brazil. It will be the Brazilians, if they make the semi-finals, that will come up against the mighty USA. So we're still on course for a Spain-USA gold medal match, but there's a lot of basketball to go through between then and now.
All right, thank you very much indeed, gents. We're going to wrap everything up with Steve Backley and Catherine Mary and Chris Akabusi up till 10 o'clock. Then after 10 o'clock, we'll talk about track cycling and the men's triathlon tomorrow. Great Britain may well have a 1-2, be a family 1-2. We'll get to that. Steve, the pole vault, what happened in the end? Holly Bleasdale, as we know, went out early, equal sixth, I think. Who won it?
Yes, it was equal sixth for Britain's Holly Bleasdale, 20 years of age. That's a credible performance. She might be a bit disappointed though, because no one really set the world alight in terms of the heights cleared. The eventual winner was the United States Olympic silver medalist from 4 years ago with Jenny Suhr. The best clearance of hers was 4.75 to win on countback against the Cuban Yaroslava Silva. So victory for the United States, and like I say, a very credible performance for Holly Bleasdale.
Now, Perry Shakes Drayton in the 400 hurdles, Kath Mary, she didn't qualify. Then she did because a Czech athlete was disqualified. But unfortunately for Perry, she's back out of the final again.
Yeah, it's been back and forth since that women's 400-metre semi-final. Of course, Perry Shakes Drayton finished outside the fastest loser spot by a couple of athletes, so it looked doom and gloom. But then Denisa Rosalova of the Czech Republic and Hanna Titomets of the Ukraine got disqualified. Perry went up into the fastest loser position and placed in the final. But unfortunately, those two athletes have had their appeals reinstated. Therefore, Perry Shakes Drayton, it's confirmed, doesn't make the women's 400-metre final. Talk about a roller coaster of emotions for the local girl, and she'll be desperately, desperately disappointed, because after her run at the London Grand Prix, the second fastest time in the world, she was a genuine outside medal shot.
Chris Akabusi, it's another part of the learning curve, isn't it? You think, oh, I've blown, oh, I'm back in. Oh, no, they've won with their appeal.
Yeah, that'll be a bit of a tough one for her. You know, she's a young lady that's got bags and bags of talent. She is at home, like she said, she can look out of her window and see the stadium. She'll have been dreaming about being in the final, maybe just sneaking into the medal positions. It wasn't to be tonight. On reflection, you know, I think she'll think to herself, okay, you know, I would have rather I've actually earned my right to be in there without any sort of discrepancies, without anybody being disqualified. So on reflection, in the end, she'll say to herself, okay, on that day I wasn't good enough, dust myself down, I'm only a young lady, it's my first Olympic Games. 70% of people that do have their first games don't ever make it. I'm now in that cohort, but people who've come from that cohort have gone on to live the dream and climb the top of Mount Olympus.
We have seen an absolute superstar. People in this country almost for the first time properly on a big scale, Kirani James. We saw him win the world title aged 18 in Daegu, 19-year-old now. He is the world and Olympic champion who could dominate the 400 metres for the next decade.
He could. He has youth on his side and he has talent in abundance. He'd never gone under 44 seconds. He smashed that barrier and won that gold medal convincingly. Let's tell our 5 Live listeners there, that was a superb run by the young man. And he could be like Michael Johnson. He could stay in the sport now for 5, 6 or 10 years and dominate it. Such is his talent. It was a very wide open final, but as we all said before, he was the favourite from his semi-final run, and he just absolutely nailed it tonight. There was not one part of that 400-metre race, looking as a former 400-metre runner myself, where he could have done anything better. What do you think, Chris?
One of the credible things as well, what I noticed, that there wasn't one American in that final. Now that is a statement. Not one person from the United States of America win that final. Kirani James was there, and I think, as you just noted, this guy now could go on and dominate over the next 4 or 6 years. Back-to-back Olympics, back-to-back World Championships. Phenomenal talent, and I love the gracious way at the end, if you notice, he shook the hand of every single one of his competitors. That guy, young head, old school, respects the event, respects his competitors.
And here he is with Sonia McLaughlin. No, he isn't there with Sonia McLaughlin. I know he's spoken to Sonia, so I'm sure we'll hear about him in due course. We're coming up to 10 o'clock. We need to talk about Phillips Aduwu, the mystery man. No one's known where he is. We do now. He's in the village, qualifying tomorrow.
Yeah, that's great. Look, I tell you what, I mean, people have been having a go at this young fella. Look, there are many different ways to climb Mount Olympus. Phillips Aduwu is a maverick, he's an individual, he's a free spirit. He's got red hair, he's got funky stuff in his mouth, he does things his own way. And you cannot put him into a little box and say, this is the way you got to do it. What we do know with Phillips is that when you invite him to the party, he steps up to dance. I'm expecting him tomorrow to step in, hop, skip, bounce, jump, boom! Fellas, I'm in the house and I'm ready to rock and roll.
Do you think that's what his dentist says to him? He's got funny things in his mouth. Phillips, what have you got in there? Well, look, it's the way he does it, Steve. It's the way he does it. And I think it's interesting, the age he is. You know, he was sort of old school before. You know, it's not one size fits all.
And that's exactly it. You know, he's chosen to prepare outside of the structure of UK athletics. The team went down to Portugal to prepare for these Olympic Games. Phillips Aduwu decided to do it his own way. And, you know, as Chris said, you know, athletes at the very highest end tend to want to do that and have that freedom to explore their potential, to explore their talent. And Phillips has that in abundance. Silver medalist from 4 years ago to Nelson Avora of Portugal. Since then, he's become world champion. He's also seen two incredible Americans come onto the scene in Christian Taylor and Will Clay. Will Clay, of course, a medalist in the long jump already. He goes in that triple jump qualification, trying to make the final, potentially to take another medal. But Phillips Adowu, the biggest challenge for Phillips is to get through qualification. We know he's had a bit of an issue that's been well publicised, but you know, I don't know. I think he can get through the qualifying, then anything can happen, because we know he's so talented and he loves the pressure of a final at the major championships.
Sorry, I thought you were going to. I thought you wanted to come.
Oh
back
no, I'm nodding. I am nodding with everything that Stevie's saying. We know this guy's a championship performer, but he's got to get through. And you know, when you're a triple jumper, there's a lot of vortexes, a lot of banging on your muscles, and so you know, at any time, if he's got a little niggle somewhere, pop. That doesn't get a weasel. Pop goes your hamstring or your Achilles, and then you're out the game.
We can now hear from Kirani James with Sonia.
Many congratulations, Kirani. Have you, in a sense, surprised yourself with the manner of your victory this evening?
Not really, you know. I just went out there and run and just tried to represent my country and be proud.
The 9th fastest time in history. Did you believe you had that within you?
Like I said, I just go out there, you know, try to represent my country proud. You know, times, you know, everything like that, you know, it doesn't mean as much as, you know, being proud, everybody home being proud of me.
You're so young, just 19 years of age. Has it sunk in that not only are you world champion, you're now Olympic champion?
Well, I just try to improve every day, you know, just try to get better. You know, hopefully in the next 4 years I could come back and do the same thing again.
Okay, well done.
Thank you.
Okay, well done. It sounded like his mum, didn't she?
Nice well run, son. Yeah. Off you go, son. Yeah.
You carry on running fast. Chris, great to have you with us as always. Thank you very much.
Mr.
Steve, thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Kat's going to stay with us because we're going to talk triathlon tomorrow. Might be a boys 1-2. I turned in to listen to the cricket yesterday, just for 5 minutes away. The first thing I heard is Michael Vaughan telling Test Match Special listeners that Yorkshire were 8th in the medal table. Could be 2 more for Yorkshire tomorrow. Tom Fordyce, who's the chief sports writer on our website, is going to talk to us about that as well. And then when we're done, it's Tony Livesey coming up next. Tony, people are having a lot of fun with their alternative medal tables.
Yeah, absolutely. We had some callers on last night from Yorkshire, actually, just saying that same thing. They've won more medals in Australia, which is amusing for all of us, I think. Yeah. Mark, lots on the programme tonight. Ewan Thomas is with us, and Olympic legend Greg Louganis joins us as well. So lots to talk to Greg about, not least Tom Daly's prospects on Friday. 2 more goals today, of course. Did you see the show jumping? I was crying again. There's a moment every day that gets me. That was my moment. That last round when they had to have a clear round was so stressful. Jason Kenny has won gold as well. He's going to join us on the programme. We're going to speak to Beth Tweddle's mum and dad. She's got her first Olympic gold medal, and it's a wonderful moment for them. Colin Patterson's been in Di Green's home village. They were trying to cheer him on tonight. It wasn't too successful, but Colin joins us. We've got live boxing on the programme. Looking forward to that. Anthony Joshua fights giant Zhang Jilei from China. And also, this is quite interesting. I want to hear from people on the text about this as well. The former editor of The Independent, Simon Kellner, tells us that he thinks the BBC have got too touchy-feely, too carried away, and are simply not dispassionate enough when it comes to dealing with the Olympics and Team GB. In other words, the BBC have got into bed with Team GB when they should be a little bit more dispassionate. I'd love to know what everyone at home thinks about that. You can text us starting now, 85058. You can ring us now as well, and we'll save your calls for 10:30, 0500 909 693. Lots to come, Mark, including that boxing. I'm looking forward to it.
Do you not think that it rather sums up the Olympics, how we've got Olympics fever, that on a Monday afternoon, show jumping jump-off halts large portions of the British population in their tracks?
It was
in
incredible.
Cars, doing whatever they're doing, they just stop to listen or watch to a show jumping jump-off.
I tell you what, I think I went as high as the horse in that last one when he was trying to get over the fence. It was brilliant. But that's the thing about the Olympics. Each little bit just grips you as it goes along. And that, I don't know what you think, Mark, about what Simon Kellner's had to say. He talked about, John Inverdale crying, that kind of thing. And I just said, look, we're human beings and it's sport, not news. And if we get carried away, then that's part of it, isn't it? Who wasn't carried away when Mo Farah stormed down the home straight? That kind of thing.
It absolutely is hard not to get sort of caught up in the emotion of it. But I'd like to think here that we, on the other side of it, be editorially rigorous when we need to be.
Yeah.
Which we have been with the swimmers. And we've asked a lot of questions about what's going on in the swimming because they have underperformed. But I think he's probably, I'm not going to put words in his mouth. I suspect he's talking mainly about television, isn't he? Because
he is
talking about the physical nature of actually putting your arm on people on the television when you're interviewing them.
Absolutely, but there was an incident yesterday when Ben Ainsley, when the interviewer had his arm around him, was practically grappling him, but then they had to hold two boats together while they did the interview.
I did see that, and I thought, let him go, and I thought, hang on, if you let him go, he'll end up in the water.
They'll need a beacher's buoy to speak to each other,
Thank you, Tony. Look forward to that at 5:30. It's 5 Live. We're in the Olympic Stadium at 4 minutes past 10.
This is the Olympic Station.
An Olympic dream is realised.
London 2012.
On 5 Live.
And a 19-year-old delivers a 400-metre masterclass.
As Kirani James flies through the line in 43.94 seconds. A sensational performance by Kirani James of Grenada. The world champion is now the Olympic champion.
Di Green finishes 4th in the final of the men's 400 hurdles. Felix Sanchez of the Dominican Republic is the winner. Perry Shakes-Drayton failed to qualify for the women's 400 hurdles final. Holly Bleasdale finished joint 6th in the pole vault. Jennifer Suhr of the US took the gold. Anthony Ogogo's guaranteed himself a medal in the middleweight boxing after a win over Stephan Hartel. Anthony Joshua fights at 11:15 in the super heavyweight, live on Tony Livesey's show. And coming up, we'll look ahead to the men's triathlon and Pendleton against Mears in the track cycling.
Remember, you can catch every Olympic moment right here on 5 Live and also over on our new digital radio station, 5 Live Olympics Extra. And if you miss it, catch up later on the BBC Sport website. This is the Olympic Station.
BBC Radio 5 Live.
I'm Faye Rusco with the BBC 5 Live News. Team GB is just one gold medal away from equalling its tally from the 2008 Beijing Olympics. Britain collected 2 more golds today in the cycling and the show jumping, along with a bronze from the gymnast Beth Tweddle. The government's dropped its plans for House of Lords reform in the face of opposition from a large group of Tory backbenchers. Nick Clegg, the party's leader and Deputy Prime Minister, has accused the Conservatives of breaking the coalition contract over the issue. The White House says President Assad's regime is crumbling following the defection of the country's Prime Minister. Riyad Hijab is thought to have fled to Jordan with his family. Police in the United States are investigating whether a man who shot 6 people dead at a Sikh temple yesterday had links to white supremacist groups. The authorities have named him as 40-year-old Wade Michael Page. And the uncle of a 12-year-old girl who's been missing in South London since Friday has appealed for her to come home. Tia Sharp was last seen leaving her grandmother's house in New Addington near Croydon.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
London 2012 with Mark Pugach.
So in the last half hour, we're going to talk about triathlon and cycling. Kath Merry is staying with us, and Tom Fordyce, the chief sports writer, on the website as well. Well, it had to happen, Tom. We had a reasonably quiet night in the stadium, didn't we?
Do you know, we shouldn't feel like that was an anticlimax, because we saw an incredible race there, didn't we, from Kirani James, but we've been spoilt over the last 2 days, I think.
Yeah, we have. Jason Kenny, as we concentrate upon the cycling for a moment, won Britain's 6th cycling gold. Tomorrow it's Victoria Pendleton back in the velodrome to reignite her rivalry with Australia's Anna Mears.
What can I say, results-wise, over the years, absolutely fantastic. She's been iconic in her field.
They come up to take the bell. Pendleton.
Greatness could have been bestowed upon Anna, but Vicky was just too good.
Anna Mears has got a job to do here. She's been boxed in.
There's definitely no love lost there in that relationship.
She looks like she's not in with a chance now.
She races quite negatively in places and, pushes riders about and is quite physical. And that's just not the way that I choose to do things.
Pendleton leads into the finishing straight.
I'd see that as very tactically aware.
She beat Mears. She beat everybody else. She is the golden girl.
Well, she said something to me along the lines of, I know we don't like each other very much. And I was like, who said that? Like, I've never said that. And I was like, well, that's clear that you don't like me very much.
It's gold to Victoria Pendleton. Sensational ride from the queen of the track, Victoria Pendleton.
Let's have a word with Rob Hales, of course, who's been very much part of our team and used to be a teammate of Victoria Pendleton, who's already beaten Mears in the Keirin. Tomorrow it's the sprint, and it could be the final as well. Rob, it's one of the great rivalries of the cycling world, this, isn't it?
It certainly is, and let's hope that we get this final that everybody wants, because let's not forget that both riders have got to get through the semi-finals at the moment. Vicky's riding against a German Vogel, and Mears is riding against a Chinese Guo, but But yeah, it's the dream final, as we had tonight with the men's, with Kenny and Borge. It's what everyone wanted, and we got it.
Mia's made a bit of a mess, didn't she, earlier in the week? I mean, you can't be more determined than you are determined to avenge something. But what sort of character are we talking about in Anna Meares?
I mean, she's a fierce competitor, but she didn't ride well at all in the Keirin. She just got herself misplaced and caught on the inside and came in second to last. But I'm just wondering if the whole pressure of an entire nation is on Anna Meares, because as we know, the Australians, I think they're up to 2 gold medals now, I think, as a nation. So there's got to be an awful lot of pressure, and I don't know how she copes with it, to be honest, because in the World Championships earlier on in Melbourne, she did the same, and she had a real big wobble, and it was our Vicky that took the gold.
The rivalry goes back 6 years when Meares hooked Pendleton with 200 metres to go. What does hooked mean?
Basically is turn across in front of a rider and just to put them off their line. It was back in 2006 in Bordeaux, and it kind of... I don't know, it was just one of those things. It's bike racing, and they're both very different riders in the way that they race. And as Vicky mentioned there, Meares does ride a little bit more aggressive, I think, in the way that she rides, but that's just come through how she's learnt. She used to race with her sister, her older sister, and obviously that rivalry... family rivalry there is probably where it started from.
Oh yes. To anyone who's got siblings, of course. If Pendleton wins tomorrow, there's no doubt about who's the queen of the track, really, and she probably is anyway, Britain's greatest female track cyclist.
Most definitely. And she's a good 2 to 3 tenths of a second quicker than anybody else out there on the track, which over the last 200 metres is quite significant. But it is all going to come down to tactics and holding nerve. But I tell you, the crowd in there, as we all know, is incredible, and every time the British rider gets up there, I'm sure they get a good few percent extra benefit just from the crowd.
Rob, looking forward to it very much. Thank you for now. We're going to talk about the men's triathlon tomorrow. The best 2 competitors are British. In fact, they're both from Yorkshire. They're brought up in the same house. They live in the same house. They're brothers, the Brownlee brothers. I'm sure you know that. And they're round, Tom Fordyce, the course that we saw with Helen Jenkins, who came 5th, and the women's. It's a wonderful course visually. It reminds me a little bit when I went to the triathlon 12 years ago in Sydney, in that it shows off the very best of the city.
Yeah, and it was pretty much designed for that reason. Now, they've had triathlons in Hyde Park for quite a while. You know, the Brownies, in fact, finished 1 and 2 at the World Series event there last year. But it is much, like a lot of these games, it's there to showcase London. The Brownies will be happy with the course. As I say, they've won there before. Equally, it's not a particularly testing course. It's the bike is obviously relatively flat. It goes down through Green Park, goes around the front of Buckingham Palace. But in an ideal world, they'll probably have a course a bit more like the one in Madrid, which has got a dirty great hill in the middle. And it means that their rivals, who might not be quite as strong on the bike as they are, would suffer.
Just explain to everybody, everyone is very familiar with triathlon, but they can't quite remember any, including me. What is what? How far is how far?
Okay, so they open out with a 1,500 metre swim.
1,500 metre swim, okay, yep.
Into a 43k bike, and then a 10k run.
Okay. Transition's very important.
Transition is very important, yeah. I mean, that's, if you were to ask a 10k runner that you'd say to them, you can instantly knock 10 seconds off your PB, they would be delighted. Well, you can easily knock 10 seconds off your transition time by practicing and practicing and practicing. Equally, if your transition goes wrong, if you don't put your goggles and your hat in the little box they've given you, you can get a 10-second, 15-second penalty, get pulled into the equivalent of the pit. So it's a critical part of the race.
Kathy, what did you make of the course when you saw the women's event at the weekend?
Apart from being very picturesque, it was nice because even though it's spread over such a wide area of Hyde Park, it felt compact because the bike is done on loops. The 10k run is done on loops. But going back to that point of the transitions between the water and the bike and the running, Tom's right, they will be vital in the men's just as they were with the women's, because don't forget the women's went down to a photo finish between Nicola Spirig and Lisa Norden. And that could mean the transitions could potentially be the difference between winning a gold or not winning a medal, not winning a medal at all.
And it can also make a difference to the tactics, of course. So a big thing in triathlon is you need to be in the right brake on the bike. So if your swimmer's a little bit slow, or you're a little bit slow in that first transition when you're getting on your bike, and 2 or 3 or 4 other riders get away, much like you might see in a road race here, where Mark Cavendish couldn't chase down that lead break. That break can then stay away and change the course of the race.
OK, then, let's hear from Tom's interviews when he's been spending time with the two brothers, with Alistair and Johnny Brownlee.
Here we are in my parents' house in Horsforth, and we're in my bedroom at the moment. My parents' house is about kind of 4 or 5 miles from Alistair's house, and this is where I lived for 19 years until Alistair bought his house. And here we are in my bedroom, and it's a very small room. I was told that I chose it when I was about 2 years old because it was next to Alistair's room. Being the younger brother, I was desperate to be next to him.
We've got a nice trophy cabinet on the wall here. Just talk me through some of these trophies I can see. There's sort of three shelves worth of cups and trophies and things.
There'll be Yorkshire cross-country titles. There you go, there's a Salford Aquathlon, which is a swim run from 2002. And there's other little kind of bits and pieces. Richard III book from my university days. And there's little sports books everywhere. Lance Armstrong book, Marco Pantani's book, a Seb Coe book. So there's kind of lots of sports books and sports magazines.
So we're in the next door bedroom now. This is Alistair's room, Johnny. It's looking unbelievably messy. It looks like he's just emptied all his shelves onto the floor.
Yeah, I think since we've moved out, Alistair's room has been used as a bit of kind of storage space by our parents. Alistair's room was always a bit more messy than mine. There's medals hanging from the roof there. You can actually hear them clashing there. But Alistair has got a box here. It's actually a treasure chest. It's a wooden treasure chest that I'm surprised doesn't creak when you open it. It's full of medals, and
absolutely, the medals are spilling out of this. What is something quite literally a treasure chest?
It's from Pirates of the Caribbean or something, isn't it? It's then there's some of the medals here. Like you pick one out from what's underneath for the others, and it's a European gold medal, a European triathlon gold medal. There are some medals here that mean a lot to Alistair, but it's more the memories for both of us.
I'm Kath, Alistair and Jonathan's mum.
So give us an idea of what the house was like when the three boys were growing up. I imagine there was a lot of dirty trainers lying around, a lot of kit that needed washing.
When there's 5 in this house, and they're all growing up, and they've all got umpteen pairs of shoes and equipment for school, it was just unbearable. You used to come through there and fall over piles of shoes and gym bags and swimming stuff that needed hanging out here. It was difficult. Everyone was out doing lots and lots of different things and got homework to fit in.
Let's bring in Ed, younger brother Ed. Your two older brothers tell me that you either pretend to hate triathlon or you actually do hate triathlon. What's the truth?
Dude. Stupid spot, innit? You're running around in your swimming costume. Well, I don't like it. Well, it's probably because I was rubbish at it, but...
You weren't rubbish at it.
Yeah, but I don't like it. I prefer rugby.
So what's it like having two brothers who are sort of increasingly well known on a sporting stage? Is it something your mates talk about at school, or...?
No, not really. If they bring anything up, I'll go, just shut up. And they'll stop it, but then, because I'm not bothered about what they used to do. All that's really changed is that some people coming in to have to do like an interview at school and stuff, because like I walked out my physics GCSE exam and I had to go and do an interview for Telegraph and Argos. It was a right joke.
So we're walking around the Brownlees' house now. It looks pretty much like an ordinary house you'd expect. A couple of maps on the walls, some bike paraphernalia, but it looks pretty ordinary until you come into the garage. Alistair, talk us through what we've got here.
Okay, so we're going into the garage from the kitchen. You can go through the kitchen door or through the door that obviously goes outside onto the drive. And I think the first thing that hits you was a smell of wet shoes. Would you agree? The smell of rot.
It's quite pungent, isn't it?
Yeah.
So how many pairs of shoes have we got here? We've got bike shoes, we've got...
Well, so here on this back wall we've got 3 or 4 shelves of shoes. I don't know, probably about 40, 50 pairs. Combination of some bike shoes, of which we've got some warm winter shoes, some summer shoes, some racing triathlon shoes, mountain bike shoes.
Combined, the smell is quite overpowering, isn't it?
Some running shoes as well. And of running shoes, obviously you need some racing flats, shoes to train in on the track, spikes to train in on the grass. So the list is endless, and they're on wire shelves with a radiator underneath, so we can dry them in the winter.
It's probably adding to the smell, isn't it?
Yeah, it was mine and Johnny's invention to dry our wet shoes all the time. And there's a tumble dryer underneath as well, which also produces heat to dry your shoes out in the winter. So we're trying to be efficient.
Maybe just a little air freshening device on there.
It needs to be the world's strongest air freshening device, I think.
Well, I'm standing in a very small street in the small village of Bramhope, just outside Leeds. It's just before 6 o'clock. It's ridiculous o'clock for most people, but it's training time for Olympians. Let me knock on the door here and see what's going on.
It's 6:15 now, and I got up to go morning swimming. And I'm pretty tired after a hard day training yesterday. And the first thing I think is when I get up in the morning is, I should have gone to bed earlier. Why did I go to bed at 10 o'clock? Why didn't I go to bed at 9:30? But yeah, I'll feel better in a few minutes to get some food down me and I'll be ready to go.
You're up at Alistair, isn't it? Is that a familiar pattern?
Yeah, it happens every morning really. Alistair likes to get up last minute. I think I set my alarm about 6:50 and he sets his about 6:25 or something, and then it always gets about 1/2 when we have to leave and I'm thinking, is Alistair going to come down? Is Alistair going to come down? But yeah, I'm used to it now, but that's Alistair for you.
It's a Thursday morning, a damp and wet Thursday morning in Leeds, and we're just on the way to swimming. It's about 6:30 and we start swimming at 7 and we do this 4 days a week. For me, it's probably the worst part of training because I hate getting up early and it's tough to drag yourself down to the pool in the morning.
We're going for our morning run now. We've finished swimming, got back and I've had a little kip, not very long, just an hour kip. And now here I am, put my shoes on, I'm going to go for an easy 70 minutes. We're still pretty tired after yesterday being a tough day, and we're just going to start off slowly and build into it, but maybe run about kind of 12-13k in total, and that'll be the morning done.
We do a hard bike ride this evening as well and do a bit of running off that, just a very short effort, maximum 5-10 minutes. So that's it for the day really.
Question for you, Johnny. It's quite unusual, probably unique for the two best athletes in their sport in the world, not only to train together but to live in the same house. What problems does that cause?
Yeah, it's something unusual and it's something that we've got used to now. It doesn't actually cause many problems, maybe, well, because we're used to it. Obviously being brothers, we've been around each other for a long time and we're both very good at understanding each other. So I know when to keep away from Alistair and he knows when to keep away from me. And maybe because we train differently to other people, we do actually really, really enjoy our training. We mainly fall out over kind of who tidies the house. The house gets dirty because we've had busy days. On Tuesday and Wednesday we're really busy, so the house is normally dirty by the end of that. And then we fall out about over who's going to tidy it or who hasn't tidied it or who hasn't tidied their dishes away. But we never kind of fall out over training or anything like that.
The Brownlee brothers, Alistair and Johnny, with Tom Fordyce. More from Tom and Catherine in a second. Ian Dennis has seen a quite extraordinary semi-final in the women's football at Old Trafford.
Oh, a remarkable game, an incredible finish as well. The first ever penalty shootout was looming in women's football when the United States scored with 4 seconds remaining in the 3rd minute of injury time, in extra time, to snatch victory, beating Canada by 4-3. So cruel on Canada, who 3 times had taken the lead thanks to a hat-trick through their captain Christine Sinclair. But the United States, the Olympic champions, kept fighting back. 2 goals from Rapinoe, 1 direct from a corner, a penalty from Wambach. Wambach then, with a minute remaining of extra time, headed against the crossbar, and then with, as I said, 4 seconds remaining, O'Reilly with a cross from the right, and there was Morgan to head in, and it was totally exhilarating. The drama doesn't do it justice. Total heartbreak for Canada, and so we have a repeat of the World Cup final last year in Germany, because Japan earlier today beat France, and they will take on the Olympic champions, who have reached the final in every year of Olympics football since it was introduced in 96, and they've continued their winning sequence against Canada now for 27 games over the last 11 years, but boy, they were taken right to the wire, 4-3.
Thank you very much, Ian. Now over on Olympics Extra right now, it's USA-Argentina basketball, and we're going to talk to Tom Fordyce and Kath Murray for a few moments about the triathlon, and the fact that you were saying the Brownlee brothers, that they are international, high-class athletes, and yet they're very, very normal.
Yeah, not only that, but they are dominant in their event, and usually in endurance events, triathlons are a little bit like marathon. It should be very, very hard to predict the winner because there are so many variables and such a long time span that it's gone over. But the rule of thumb with triathlon the last 2 years has been if one Brownlee brother doesn't win it, the other one will. So they are an extraordinary pair of athletes, but when you spend time with them, you can forget that because they're 2 very down-to-earth Yorkshire lads. They eat very normal food. You don't see them necking protein shakes and things like that. For their
hallelujah. I think that's what people listening are thinking.
The last meal I had with them was fish and chips, a big fish and chips for them, which they ate in the sort of time that I was still on my 3rd chip, that the entire plate was cleared, and then they both ordered sticky toffee pudding. So there you go. So Olympic gold could be based on fish and chips and sticky toffee pudding.
How appropriate would that be in the UK? And the other thing, Kath, is people who watched the triathlon on the weekend saw it with Helen Jenkins, with Lucy Hall. We are now familiar with this term domestique after the Tour de France and the road race as well.
It's a word that's really
Let's try again. Yep.
My bad.
Yeah.
It's a word that's really come to light in terms of triathlon, isn't it, after the women's event that hasn't gone down very well in the sport, and the guys will have one tomorrow. Stuart Hayes, of course, is been put in to do a job for the Brownlee brothers, hasn't he, Tom?
Yeah, and it was a very controversial decision because obviously some other guys have trained 4 years to try and get a spot in the Olympics. Stuart Hayes isn't the third best triathlete in Britain. The reason he's been picked is to guarantee or to give the two Brownlee boys as best a chance of Olympic gold as possible. And the way that will work is Stuart Hayes is a very strong swimmer and he's a very strong biker. The idea is on the swim, when it can get nasty, when people can be swimming over the top of you, elbowing you, pushing you underwater, trying to mess up your race, he can protect them. He can take the swim out nice and fast. Again, going back to our earlier analogy about a breaker and a bike, he can do what David Miller and Bradley Wiggins were trying to do for Mark Cavendish the other Sunday.
Just stretch it out.
And on the bike, he can try and keep the pace nice and high. The two Brownlee boys can sit on his wheels. They're not doing quite as much work. By keeping the pace high, he'll stop other people going away. If they do go away, he can lead the chase. And he has been training with the Brownlee boys for the last 6 or so weeks. Went up to Yorkshire, stayed in a hotel a couple of miles from their home, trained with them every day. And interestingly, for a triathlete, 3 events, pretty much stopped running. And the reason is because it's not about him finishing this race.
Yeah.
Exactly as Lucy and Vicky did for Helen Jenkins. So in a nutshell then, Tom, we're virtually hanging the medal round 1 of their necks. Is there a possibility of a gold and a silver? And if there isn't, then how are they going to lose it?
Well, there's absolutely a possibility of gold and silver. If you look at the last World Series race in Kitzbühel, which was Alistair's first back after long injury, he ran away to first place and Johnny was in second place, and the rest were pretty much nowhere. Now, as I said earlier, in an endurance event, you're always very wary about making big predictions, and you could almost draw a parallel with the sort of favourite tag that Paula Radcliffe had in the marathon in Athens in 2004. Now, neither of the two boys have an injury like Paula has, and they're in good shape. So,
fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed, I think.
Yeah. Well, it's 11:30 tomorrow morning, isn't it? Kathy will be there with Ali Bruceball. No?
James Cracknell.
James Cracknell. Our teams, it's fluid. We rotation. We are Rafa Benitez. It's rotation all the way. Tom, I know you'll be there. Looks fantastic on the television. Do see it. If you're near a TV, turn the sound down. Listen to Kath and to James Cracknell as well. Thank you very much for that. We're going to go to the boxing. 11:15. Anthony Joshua against Zhilei Zhang. Have I got that right, Darren Fletcher?
Yes, you have.
Well, that's a start. Tell us about Zhilei Zhang.
Well, he's a big man. He's about 6'8". He's about 19 stone. He's a silver medalist from Beijing at super heavyweight. He's known as the Iron Fist Prince, and he represents a big test for Anthony Joshua, who's no slouch himself, Mark, at 6'6" and 18 stones. He's from Finchley. He's effectively the local boy. He's a London boy fighting at Excel. If he wins tonight, he's guaranteed a bronze medal, just like Anthony Ogogo was earlier. And this super heavyweight division looks extremely difficult, but we're going to get one heck of a fight, I think, between these two.
What do you think then, Steve Bunce, looking at this?
You know what, we thought when he fought the tall Cuban, the brilliant Cuban from inside that Savon family, we thought that was tough, we thought that would be hard. Well, you know what, we were wrong. This is the test. This is as hard as it gets. If this was a gold medal fight, it could not be any harder. Not only is Zhang either 6'8", 6'9", or possibly even 6'10", depending on some of the lies you listen to in boxing, but he's got terrific movement, terrific mobility. And I was talking earlier on to Lennox Lewis, who sat beside me here, and Zhang doesn't fight like a guy who's 6'9". He fights like he's compact. The big tall guys often fall over their feet. This guy doesn't. He fights. He's far more accomplished, and he's got an incredible left hook, which Anthony Ogogo came over the other day and told me, he said, rest assured, Steve, I'm not going to be putting my head anywhere near that left hook.
11:15, Anthony Joshua against Zhilei Zhang with Lennox Lewis, Steve Bunce and Darren Fletcher. Two big stories here on the track this evening. One, the 19-year-old Kirani James winning the 400 in great style. The other, 34-year-old Felix Sanchez regaining the 400 hurdles title, the first one in Athens. And it was a very emotional victory, as he explained to Sonia McLaughlin.
Felix, many congratulations. You were incredibly emotional on the podium. Was that just about winning a gold medal, or was there a little bit more to it than that?
It was definitely beyond that. I mean, obviously it was the reason why I'm here, but the main objective was to come here and win a medal. I mean, I wanted to win gold, but I just wanted to win a medal and to pull it off, and all the doubters who didn't expect me to even make the final or get a medal, and just all the hard work. And I mean, I've dominated my sport for so long, and then I have 8 years of ups and downs. And I made all the finals, the world champs, but I only got a silver. Last year I got 4th. After 2008 and my grandmother passed and I wasn't able to defend my title, I made a promise I would win one more medal for her. And it's been 4 years and I hadn't pulled it off yet. And I got to London and I wrote her name on my spikes, and I actually pinned her picture under my bib so she could run as close as possible to me. And we pulled it off. I mean, it was amazing. I came off 10, I was tired, and she pulled me through. And when I crossed the line, and I just couldn't believe we won.
I've actually got the photograph in my hand of you and your grandmother. It looks like a beautiful sunny day.
Yeah.
Do you remember that day?
Absolutely. We were in San Diego. It was a big table. My mom, my aunt, my cousins, all my family were there. We were just having brunch and just enjoying her few days left. She had recovered from a stroke, and we were just happy to have her around. And then she finally passed when I was actually at the games, and it was a really probably the lowest moment I had ever been. So she's been motivating me to stay with it. A lot of people thought I should have retired a long time ago, but I stuck with it, and it was well worth it.
You've got the gold medal in your hand. It's a beautiful thing. How proud are you?
Ironically,
that you've got it again?
It means more to me, and ironically, it's bigger than the one they gave us in Athens, and it means more to me. So that's amazing.
It's a lovely story. Many congratulations. You should be very proud of yourself.
I am. Thank you very much.
Felix Sanchez, who really was extremely emotional on the podium, and we heard why now from Sonia. So tomorrow then, the triathlon at 11:30. Mark Chapman will be there. Finishes about 1:45 in Hyde Park. The GB dressage team go for glory from 2 o'clock in Greenwich. Final day in the velodrome. 3 gold medals. Victoria Pendleton in the women's sprint round about 5:25, and Sir Chris Hoy in the Keirin at 6 o'clock. 2 of the highlights there. Robbie Grabarz in the high jump, and Andrew Selby and Fred Evans in the boxing. If they win, they guarantee themselves a medal. There we are then, 11:30. The leaf blowers are out, just clearing up the little bits of detritus out there on the track. And here's Tony Livesey.
11:30, you've nicked me show.
Oh, sorry, have I?
It's 10:30.
10:30.
Thank you, Mark.
I have no idea what the day of the week is. Genuinely no idea.
No, I'm in exactly the same boat. It's brilliant stuff. Thank you very much, Mark. Another night ahead here on Late Night Olympics. You're listening to Tony Livesey on 5 Live, and what a show we've got from you. It's not 11:30, it's 10:31.